You're right. The longer we wait, the higher chances of more outer guards swarming us there will be, Vardon remarks. Ulger begins floating deeper into the forest. Let's go this way. It's not much further to one of their ritual domains. If anything will awaken the rest of your glyphs, that'll be it. Maria and I follow. The fiery mammoth slowly floats behind us. My senses stretch out much further now. I can feel dozens of primordial trees in every direction. Each one of them has some kind of automatic sensory feature that ripples through everything that passes it. The glyphs activating deep within the trees feel very similar to the invisible domain barriers themselves. But this is just because they're originating from the same race's language. I can't help but feel like the flickers of consciousness in these trees are just like the warm and inviting hand I felt built into the barriers. Whatever it is, it resides in the primordial aura itself, not the glyphs. As we pass hundreds of trees, the sadness that pours out of them starts to become overwhelming. I want to pull my primordial aura back in to save my mind from the stress. But the glints of hope deep inside each tree make me keep probing for more answers. Even though these trees aren't fully conscious, I feel like the small flicker of hope in their souls grows slightly larger by our presence. It's like I'm an old friend walking through, and they're trying to say hello. When I start bouncing my memories of perception off Maria's, I get hers too. The internal reaction to her presence is actually slightly different. I can sense the primordial aura curl around all of the glyphs and energy pathways in her body that carry source resin in large amounts. Others are actually attracted to the denser areas of refracting sparkling light, causing far more pressure on Maria's soul to withstand when passing certain trees. There is a mixed reaction from everyone. It is extremely strange. They all start off with the same sadness, but their reactions are varied to either full-on resentment, not wanting anything to do with her, even giving me the sense of scheming against her for some reason, or an unconditional love like they're trying to hug her soul and seek comfort. The same sense of hope dwindles when she leaves each tree, even the ones that are angry with her. It starts to weigh on both our minds, as this creates another piece of this puzzle in the purple zone that makes no sense at all. Nothing becomes any clearer as another 100 or so trees go by. We've changed directions half a dozen times. Loud caws from the air alert Ulger of where new enemies are traveling. He believes there is no point in fighting if it's not necessary. However, we stop moving when the griffins' caws become frantic. 2 squads of outer guards moving in from our left and right. We can turn back and find a safer route or fight, Ulger says in a serious tone, his killing intent, infused aura quickly returning. I feel heat on my back when Vardon replies, "We're too close now to turn back. I'll take the right, you take the left." They have enough array proficiency to protect themselves, and Axel will intervene if anything actually goes wrong. He's cut off by the edges of the woods in front of us flooding with a purple and white light. I don't waste any time and begin syncing my hand movements with Maria and channel celestial energy into our glyphs to start making a perfect barrier around us, mimicking the one Vardon created but with our own legacy's glyphs. The black ogre and fiery mammoth move forward in a flash of rust and darkness, and instantly the first layer of our defensive arrays is shattered by the shockwaves. I see 14 purple cord demons fly out, weaving through the trees with their eyes locked directly on us. The fastest demon collides with Ulger's dual blades first, and Vardon swings his tusks around to block 2 approaching demons at once. A loud bird's screech echoes through the air, but the griffin does not descend. It watches just like us as demons attempt to bust through their line of defense. Watching Ulger take on 6 demons alone was impressive, but the speed and raw power I'm witnessing right now is on another level. Black and rust-colored auras fill my vision, and I watch half of the attacking demons die in an instant. 2 of them have their heads chopped off by Ulger's blades, while a third is sliced clean in half, detonating and exposing the demon cores of its headless partners. While they attempt to heal, Ulger spins through the residue and shatters their cores while simultaneously throwing long-range attacks at the approaching demons from the trees behind them. Both of the demons that attacked Vardon have incinerated in a close-up pillar of flames, only leaving their shattered cores and weapons behind. He charges forward and skewers another pair, using sharpening arrays at the tips of his tusks and layers of hardening glyphs around their outer bone shell. The attackers are thrust up in the air helplessly and roasted alive like the others. The next few shockwaves are the demons that took the rear and have had enough time to charge up long-range attacks imbued with demonic essence. Ulger is in midair when two waves of dark purple energy filled with demonic glyphs and extremely potent poison fly toward him. However, he disappears in a blur of black aura, spinning around a nearby tree with far greater speed than any of these attacking demons. He slices another one of them in half, instantly killing it, and charges in to attack the final three in the back line of his group. Vardon has far more destructive power, but his speed does not match Ulger's. When demonic essence comes rocketing his way, he stomps both of his front feet, tearing up a massive chunk of the remaining ground and roots. Then, he moves out of the way and toward the attackers. An explosion of ground and roots fills the air, diffusing enough of the attack's momentum to allow Vardon to dodge it and send waves of rust-colored fire straight into the chest of the closest demon. He stabs another through the core moments later, leaving only a single fighter from the squad attacking him left. While Maria and I watch, every single collision destroys more of the ground we stand on and evaporates layers of our protection array. With the shock waves of energy moving so fast around us, large amounts of the energy I sacrificed are being whisked away. Once the glyphs break, they're no longer under my control. In order to replace them, I have to continue pouring more and more celestial energy into this creation we've made. It doesn't take much. About 10% of our ether pools in total is being used right now to comfortably block all of the harmful aura outside. Thousands of glyphs are pouring out of our palms, and they're being destroyed at the same rate. However, my eyes are wide, admiring this battle. I watch Vardon kill the final demon on his side, and Ulger kill two more that were hiding behind trees, as they tried to retreat. One final demon is so far away, it's almost impossible for me to see in my limited vision. Yet Ulger's yell makes me realize why. He's been charging up this whole time. Get away from the blast. You can't withstand an impact. At his words, I watch the black ogre twist his body around an extremely dense arrow of demonic essence. It looks like a pointed bolt, like something shot out of a crossbow. However, it's over 1 billion kilometers long and millions of kilometers thick. The energy reading on it makes it seem like it's almost as strong as an entire Royal Demon's Corps all funneled into a single attack. So fast. And the only possible way I can see myself dodging this would be letting down our defensive arrays to gain back mobility. Doing so would expose us to the intense shockwaves in the air, and that would be equally as harmful as just getting hit by this attack. Maria and I come to the consensus very quickly our best course of survival is to brace ourselves, and we pour far more of our ether pools out of our hands. We increase the output by over 5 times, pouring half of our total refined celestial energy pools into our defensive array. Instantly over 100,000 red and blue glyphs spin and interlock in front of us, tightening and preparing for a clash. The last thing I see is Ulger killing the last outer guard with an angry glare far away, then feel the sharp tip of the spiked bolt arrow colliding with the center of our defensive array. A chain reaction of layers of glyphs in front of me are shattered to dust. I feel my body, mind, and soul weakening as over half of my entire ether pool dissolves out of my control into the atmosphere. Even the royal vibrations and primordial aura in the air start to press in on the backside of this barrier where the weaker points are. Only the front is tough enough to withstand the impact of this spiked bolt made of pure demonic essence. It's packed with divine threads, and unlike the pools of demonic essence we absorbed before, these glyphs are all completely activated and imbued with intent to kill. Even after the demon's death, all of its life energy has been sacrificed to take us out. Despite this, our barrier holds strong. Unlike the ogre and mammoth's counterattacks that get absorbed instantly by this essence, or even the dryad's glyphs left behind in the trees, they're all helplessly melted away like it's a strong acid. When this essence collides with us, it's as though two equal forces are clashing. Only pure energy density matters. Our blue and red glyphs are just as dangerous as the purple ones colliding with them. When the front of this spiked attack shatters from the energy overload, the back half of the arrow explodes as well. My entire vision becomes filled with purple light. However, it comes with a wave of relief. Blocking the excess essence is easy compared to defending against a blunt force attack. Our vision of the outside zone is blocked out for a moment as a dome of dark purple energy splatters all around us. But it quickly returns as streaks of light burst through and all of the residue falls into the crater that has been created below us. More and more of the fractured glyphs in our array dangle, dissolve, explode, and fall off into the puddle below. We have the ability to create more glyphs, but once broken we cannot remake them yet. At least, using the current function where there is a disconnect between our medium-quality ether pool and the high-quality glyphs, the only thing we can do is create more or break down fully intact glyphs back into their original state. Once the auras in the outside aura calm down, I watch both Ulger and Vardon slowly float back toward us with widened eyes. We use the reversal technique to absorb what's left of our defensive barrier, but only manage to recover about 20% of what we put in. I don't waste any time letting my tendrils of corruption leak out from my demon's core and drain the sea of demonic essence and glyphs below me of their energy. In a matter of seconds, the pool is gone, and my tendrils of black energy retract into my core. A pulse of hot white ether stimulates all of our glyphs again, but a majority of the raw high-quality ether only flows through us. Not all of our ether pool is recovered, but the pool we have left becomes far more refined. We float up, and I drain the stray essence, then remaining energy in every one of the shattered demon cores sprawled out over this battlefield. Their horns and soul weapons are tucked away into my storage as well. By the time I absorb the essence in the 14th demon core, I'm expecting another flashback or flicker of memories, but nothing comes. Our primordial auras grow, and my corruption's royal vibrations grow far stronger from increasing the pool of royal demons' wills inside it. Yet, I can still feel the invisible bottleneck holding my ether pool from breaking through to holding high-quality ether. Our soul energy cores have been restored in their energy volume, and it has even been refined further. I feel like now we could have fended off that last attack with half the effort. This narrative has been unlawfully taken from Royal Road. If you see it on Amazon, please report it. Ulger finally speaks up once I drain the last demon's core. You managed to block demonic essence. That's normally impossible. He speaks in a lower tone like he's muttering under his breath next. So if the originators created the first unbreakable glyphs, and the demons tried to copy them, who could have possibly killed them? The Dryads were always a peaceful race. I can't see them ever doing such a thing. Vardon butts into his whispers. Maybe they just died of old age, or sacrificed themselves in some kind of ritual. Ancient races love killing themselves for the greater good. The mammoth gives an unamused, sarcastic grunt. We'll never figure it out, just speculating. Many smarter than us have tried. Ulger opens his mouth to argue back, but a caw from the griffin above us makes his gaze turn serious. This way, come on. More guards are approaching. Instead of the fear of being found when I hear these words before, I'm slightly excited. The same feeling ripples through Maria's vibrations too. Not only did we see the two ancient monsters with us fight off over a dozen of these guards without getting a single scratch, but we have the ability to protect ourselves without any external aid. I almost want to run into another group now. The corners of my lips turn upward, but I still follow the black ogre away from our current position. We leave the crater-filled battlefield quickly and move toward the domain he's been talking about from the start. I speak up once the cawing from the air stops. What is a ritual domain anyway? And why are you so certain we'll be able to crack the barriers? Don't you think the demons would have modified them? Ulger shakes his head and replies without looking back. No, they can't modify them. All of the domain barriers are the same, made by the Dryads. No other large-scale artifacts can be built in the garden. The trees would wear them down and tear them apart over time. I think for a moment, and Ulger continues after making a sharp right turn around the next tree. The ritual domains are a small amount of domains that used to be owned by the Dryads. They hold the highest potency of high-quality ether, and used to be gifted out to races for a limited time in order to leave racial legacies behind to their new generations. Maria's eyebrows rise. What do you mean they used to be gifted to other races? Ulger turns his head back and smiles. When the Dryads were the rulers of this zone, they did not hold all of the resources for themselves. Any race that would ascend through all of the layers of the upper realm and make it this far would get to enjoy their peaceful life in this paradise. In the outer settlements, where you found me, that is where large offerings of ether could be given to the Dryads, and domains could be purchased from one another. Vardon grunts, interrupting. Yeah, right. There was always war back then too. Even if you bought a domain, other lords would still try to conquer one another. Olger shrugs. I wasn't present in the early times. I only know of war like it is now, but I'd like to believe there was a time when all races in the primordial garden got along. He sighs, then continues explaining a few seconds later. While there were permanent residents in the outer ring, there were and still are far larger domains near the center of the primordial garden. They used to have blank inheritance chambers, where one could sacrifice themselves to create imprint legacies for a new generation of their race to inherit their memories and strength. Once completed, the races would leave and return to the outer settlements. Until the demons slaughtered all the Dryads and took the ritual domains and tree of life for themselves. Vardon snorts out. A natural wave of rust-colored aura and flames lights up our backs that comes out of his nose and mouth. But Maria and I are quick enough to summon a few dozen simple glyphs to block it. While we retract our glyphs and Olger rolls his eyes, he comments again. That is most likely true. I've never seen the central domain with my own eyes. I don't know if the tree of life is real, or if it still stands if it ever was. The ritual domains part, at least, I'm certain they own every one of them. I've been out here alone to find the best ones to target when I built up the confidence, but never managed to find a method energy efficient enough to break through their domain barrier. Until now, that is. The black ogre stops in his tracks, looking straight ahead at wide open forest. The roots in this area are much thicker, and the trees thinner, but they're much closer together. The leaves and branches above us all tangle together to block out the sky. Olger points between two trees and I feel his killing intent grow. Vardon heats up too, staring forward, and a streak of white light falls down from the thick leaves. A light impact crater makes a few roots splinter as Axel, the white griffin, digs his claws into the wood while staring forward with fierce yellow eyes. We're clear for over 200 trees on every side. If we get through in the next 3 minutes, not a single guard team will sense a thing. Olger turns back to us, then motions us forward. As he speaks, I start to see the high-quality ether patterns of the invisible wall in front of us. Your time to shine. This is the final barrier. Let's break into a ritual domain. The moment I begin to focus on the barrier in front of me and pour my primordial aura into the faint signs of glyphs I see, the entire collection of arrays becomes crystal clear. It has a very similar structural makeup to the small domain barrier we opened in the ogre's domain and the border between the neutral lands and the ones now owned by the demons. This one is extremely thick and far more complex. Bright blue and red celestial energy pours out of our palms, and it drains over 75% of my soul energy core. I'm certain that I wouldn't even have had enough energy to sacrifice if we didn't run into those outer guards on the way here. Not as many compression arrays are needed. The ether is forced into the shapes of perfect white glyphs, and countless chain reactions of spinning commands and complex mechanisms activate. My primordial aura can feel the intricate details of everything happening in between these two trees. While I've seen all of these glyphs before, every second that passes shows a far larger amount of them working together than I've ever seen. Multiple epiphanies ripple through my consciousness during the process, and my ether proficiency increases drastically. Both Maria and I start exerting a large pressure on the environment around us. Our true purple cores churn in our chests, and the royal vibrations that are guiding this primordial aura become so intense, even the ancient beasts behind us grimace. Vardon grunts. These humans make no sense at all. How could their wills be this strong without fully awakening their glyph imprints? Olger only smirks, but grabs both of his blades once he sees a small pinhole opening up in the barrier in front of us. Axel flaps his wings and dives forward first without saying a word. I feel the barrier opening up, and the warm aura floods back into my consciousness, as though hands are pulling back the barrier again. This time, when I feel it, I'm certain I recognize the presence. It is extremely similar to the green hologram of a woman I watched step out from the Tree of Life in the inherited demonic memories I saw. I try to make sense of it, but in front of my own vision, Once the hole in the barrier gets large enough, a flash of white light slips through it. The white griffin saw its opening and took the chance. Seconds later, the hole widens and starts to form the shape of an archway. It grows larger and larger until it's big enough for Vardon and Ulger to fit through. Instead of opening it all the way from tree to tree like last time, the energy we poured into the domain seems to have run out. Even the aura of the helping hand stops pulling. Once its job is done, it fades into the depths of the barrier, only watching from afar, no longer out in the open to be felt or seen. I find it strange, but when I see the black ogre charge forward, I decide to follow. If what Axel said was right, we do not have much time before outer guards come sweeping through this way, so entering before then would be the stealthiest move. We walk through, holding the barrier open with our minds, as our primordial aura is still embedded in the glyphs we're controlling. Once Vardon comes through, there is an instant shift in the air as we allow all of the connections to the domain barrier to release. The automatic reversal commands make every spinning glyph and array move in the opposite direction, as though time is being reversed. The friendly aura returns for a moment while the hole closes up, but completely disappears once all of the decompression arrays are activated. Once it is positive we will receive our ether back. It's as though we're only staring into a machine, a case of content theft. This narrative is not rightfully on Amazon. If you spot it, report the violation. The flood of warm pressure back into our cores follows with the exact same amount of energy that we put in. No extra was granted, but the pool we receive back is far more refined. I feel filled with power once I take a deep breath and look around, but that is when I realize even the energy in the air here is more potent with all kinds of energy. The purple divine thread count is easily doubled, the amount of raw high-quality ether particles floating about is over 4 times as rich, and most strange of all, there is a very large amount of celestial energy too. It's extremely refined, even more pure than what's in my core now. However, it doesn't float in even ratios like the rest of the ether in the air. There are large chunks and pools of it that pass in gusts of light wind. Some even sticks to the underside of the leaves in the trees or sides of bark. It must be the byproduct of a glyph creation reaction, or maybe it's naturally produced by something in this ritual domain. Feels very out of place. However, when my primordial aura touches these waves of celestial energy, it all flows toward me and instantly seeps into my energy pathways, empowering my soul energy core. I don't know why it's here, but we might as well take advantage of it while it is. My glyphs aren't stimulated, but the rest of my body and mind are. At the same time, Vardon and Ulger stand in front of us ready for battle. Axel is already out of sight. The black ogre occasionally looks upward to the trees, but hears nothing back. I can feel the tension in his vibrations as he waits in silence for a few seconds, then turns around. Your part is done. Now all you have to do is protect yourself until we make it to the ritual temple. This is one of the less used domains, so I doubt they have more than 30 outer guards stationed inside. It'd be optimal not to have to fight all of them at once, but there's a very high chance we will. Why's that? Maria asks. Vardon looks back next. There is no way to get to the temple without moving through one of their active districts. They're full of failed ascended demons. They'll alarm their king once we're spotted. You'll see, it's inevitable. Ulger nods. It's true. We're gonna have to slaughter this entire domain and leave before they call in reinforcements. But without having to blow all my strength on breaking down the defense barrier, it will be much easier. A single caw sounds out from the trees above, and Ulger puts on his serious expression again before moving forward. This is do or die. Do not hold anything back. Vardon's flames fill the atmosphere as he follows, and both Maria and I put up small protection glyphs to shield ourselves from the aura. When the intensity passes, we don't take them down. The tension in the air makes me believe at any moment we're going to need to stack far more than just these. The next minute or so is extremely long. We change direction sporadically whenever a griffin's caw is heard, and sometimes even when there is pure silence in the air. We pass by dozens of trees and dive deeper into this ritual domain. The clouds of passing celestial energy I manage to absorb slightly increase the purity of my ether base, but the noticeable increase is the raw volume of energy I'm taking in. my capacity increases by over 5 times. The only thing holding me back from increasing this volume before was lack of absorbable energy in the atmosphere. It was almost entirely dominated by high-quality ether. Right now, I'm finally finding pockets of rich energy I can actually use. So, despite the fact we're willingly entering a hostile territory with far more enemies than I've seen before in this zone, I'm actually starting to feel more and more excited. After successfully blocking that outer guard's demonic essence, and now becoming incrementally stronger with every passing second, my hands are tingling to see what else I can do. After about a minute passes, and we're over 100 primordial trees deep into this domain, a series of loud caws pierce into my inner ear. Ulger instantly stops his movements, and Vardon slows down to a walk, commenting in a serious low tone. He's saying the settlement we have to pass through is right up ahead. They both stare in the same direction and wait in silence before 3 more caws screech out through the forest. This time they get louder and louder, until the 4th comes and I can see the griffin's whole body swooping down from the trees. Ulger tightens the grip on his swords and stares into the trees ahead. And that means we have company. Before I can reply, it looks like all the space between the trees is turning a lighter shade of white. My first thought is that it's a denser wave of celestial energy, or maybe high-quality ether residue from the glyphs on whatever is approaching. However, the more I pour my aura out to direct what I see, the wider my eyes get. Thousands of white coreless ascended demons flood through the trees. I couldn't sense them because they give off no vibrations or primordial aura. They're only made of leftover high-quality glyphs. When I turn to my left and right, the backgrounds of the forest get lighter and lighter. Every direction except the way we came becomes completely filled with ascended demons. 2 dark black crescents of aura come out of Ulger's blades into the masses. A wave of rust-colored fire bursts out from Vardon's fur, and layers of glyphs peel off his tusks to create explosive arrays packed tightly within his aura. Axel lets out a screech and flaps his wings to release 2 large gusts of wind magic tethered to royal vibrations and high-quality ether glyphs. All 3 of them release vicious waves of primordial aura carrying their attacks as well, and in a matter of seconds, I watch hundreds of ascended demons explode into unrecognizable pieces. Massive tears in the walls of ascended demons appear, carving out holes in their masses. It creates shockwaves of fractured glyphs and pure high-quality ether that make all of the surrounding trees creak, and some of their branches crack off from the pressure. Instantly, craters form all over the ground, and roots are lifted out of the soil. Maria and I both add to the small amount of glyphs we had active and create a large curved wall of protection arrays in front of us. As the first shockwave hits, we wrap the entire collection of arrays around us to fully isolate ourselves from the outside chaos. By the rate that glyphs are being destroyed, I can tell the fighters outside are not nearly as weak as the outer guards, but far more shockwaves are being produced. In fact, the bulk of the shockwaves we're blocking is coming from Ulger, Vardon, and Axel themselves. Their true core's purity and primordial aura density tethered to their glyphs is the most harmful thing in the air. The passing glyphs from dead demons do not even come close. Once a few seconds pass, the hordes of approaching ascended demons only get larger. Hundreds are being killed by every one of the mana-based monsters' attacks, but the waves of them pouring out of the trees grow. It's making the forest extremely bright white as I can no longer even see the background of woods deeper into the forest. There have to be over 10,000 ascended demons now, and the air is getting cloudier and cloudier as it fills with white mist. Whenever the fiery mammoth, black ogre, and white griffin make drastic shifts, changing their locations to get better vantage points, I watch large amounts of the mist in the air slowly seep into their astral forms. It is not as efficient as I assumed it would be. They're still absorbing it at a similar rate to what they exhaust, not adding much extra ether to their pools. I can't tell if their soul energy cores have some kind of hard limit, or if their energy pathways just can't withstand taking in vast amounts of ether at once. It intrigues me. However, there is another factor to this all-out war that catches my attention even more. With an up-close view of the fights in front of me, there are millions of stray glyphs now colliding with the barrier we've made. I know all the language by memory, as I saw them in the inherited vision. Yet now that I'm witnessing them all being used in combinations in the heat of battle over and over, their exact uses are becoming more and more clear. All of these ascended demons have unique battle styles, but their defensive style and attacking patterns are very similar, because they all have to use the same set of glyph combinations. As the masses are slaughtered, epiphanies stack in my mind, and they're bounced off Maria's unique view of the battle as well. We simulate their attack and defensive patterns, then begin to reverse engineer them to see what the original glyphs in our own legacy are that were used as the derivative for all these moves. Without even absorbing a single drop of energy, many more of the deeper glyph imprints on our souls slowly rise to the surface. By the sheer volume of information alone around us, our proficiency rises again, and it becomes even easier to summon the barriers around us to block the barrage of shockwaves. The narrative has been taken without permission. Report any sightings. Not even 5% of our ether pools is used by the time the waves die down. There are a few trees that have chunks ripped out of their sides from the blasts, and pretty much every one of them is missing at least one major branch. The ground has been completely torn to shreds. Only dirt that is held closely with the root's primordial aura is left standing. The air is dense with the broken remains of glyphs and the most potent cloud of high-quality ether I've ever seen. When the three monsters come back within range, I see white stretches all over their greater forms. As more high-quality ether is drained into their souls, it slowly starts to heal, but it's clear they actually did get slightly injured from this exchange. Ulger breathes heavily, staring at us with a stern gaze, then waves for us to follow. Not a word is spoken. He only turns around once he sees we're unharmed. Maria and I pull back our glyphs to decompress them and let the refined medium-quality ether fall back into our cores, not only to conserve power but to get a better sense of what this cloud is made up of. This extremely pure high-quality ether as expected. Little to no absorbable celestial energy is present, so that eliminates one potential source of the clouds we've been sensing. It's ether from the outer guards, or the ritual site itself. Instead of leaving the intact glyphs and larger chunks of fractured ones to just phase through us, I allow my corruption to seep out of my body and attach to tons of them in the air. Maria's greater form starts to sparkle with source resin, and everything that comes within her primordial aura is pulled in toward her. We quickly drain large amounts of the most potent glyphs in our vicinity. None of the energy enters our ether pools, but when I contract my corruption back into my core, the same pulse of pure, refined, high-quality ether pours back out into the atmosphere. It stimulates all of our glyphs for a moment. Maria's source resin digests the glyphs it devours and looks more lively, moving faster and sparkling brighter, but nothing external changes. This leads to more complex theories rushing through my mind as we move deeper into the trees. I can feel the unbothered and sarcastic aura of Vardon become completely serious. He doesn't even make a grunt or a rude remark. Even his royal vibrations are starting to tighten into pure unease. Axel flies up above the trees again, and the landscape before us starts to shift. Once we leave the cloud of slaughtered ascended demons, flickers of white show up all around the garden. There are clearly hundreds of white demons that were not killed. They stay just out of range, either running away or gathering data on us. All of them migrate back toward the area we're headed to right now. The trees become far more spread apart, and the potency of both high-quality ether and the frequency of celestial energy pockets increases drastically. Faint outlines of structures that look like black towers are visible far beyond the trees. I can't exactly see what they look like, but they all give off an incredibly firm primordial aura and royal vibration reading that imprints a visual in my mind. The closer we get, the stronger this imagery becomes. Stray groups of 10 to 100 ascended demons try sneak, attacking us from all sides, but Axel swoops down from the trees every time with fierce yellow eyes and kills them all with 2 waves of wind from his wings. Eventually, the images in my mind start to show up in reality around me. The first structure I see is abandoned. It looks similar to the ancient elven civilization I saw in Ulger's domain, but thousands of times larger. The width of these structures is almost as wide as the trees they stand next to, but it does not reach nearly as high. At best, it stops at the lowest hanging branches of the primordial trees. Half of the top section of the tower is crumbling off, but inside there are dozens of complex rooms where a prospering civilization once lived. Each of the facilities in this megastructure was capable of fitting races like the ones I'm watching float forward past it, even in their astral forms passing 1 billion kilometers in height. There are even layers of ancient ether commands still activated in the bottom of the building where it wasn't destroyed. Everyone floats past it like it's not even here, so I quietly admire and memorize all of the patterns I see. As incredible as it is, moments later another structure comes into view. Similar in size, but all of the glyphs filling it are unique and complex, nothing like the first one. The next structure is unique in the same way. More and more abandoned buildings show up and even appear in clusters of 2 or 3. I can tell they were all made with Dryads' glyphs, not demons. After witnessing the craftsmanship in the domain barriers, these are very easy and quite simple to dissect and understand. Eventually, the central mass of this civilization pours into my consciousness. A wave of new buildings appears in my mind, as they're all in a perfect straight line. When we move close enough, passing a few more trees, another line of them appears, and a third line moments later. There is an enormous city of structures deep within this domain, and from the strength of primordial aura infused in these buildings, I can tell they're much more advanced than the ones we just passed and even recently used. My eyes widen even more as my probing of our surroundings hits the 5th line of structures. Not only are they even stronger, but I sense over 30 purple cored lifeforms moving our way with extreme speed. The purple cores close the gap between us fast, and my vision of the settlement widens too. The shapes of the approaching bodies all come into full view, carrying soul weapons, and standing just as tall in their demonic forms as the griffin, ogre, and mammoth in front of me. Imagery of wisps of the remaining ascended demons in the territory slowly appear, and larger-scale glyphs and surveillance commands start to become clear, showing the strength of this city. All of the structures are made from Dryads' glyphs, but there are many add-ons that are shaped by newer demonic arrays. This settlement is certainly used by their race currently, and we're their uninvited guests. Outer guards, 36 of them, just a little more than expected. We're all at full strength. This is what we came here to do. Let's let them have it. Ulger yells. He does not even try to evade their forward march or find a way around. The black ogre charges forward into the forest, Axel caws from the sky, and Vardon follows behind, casting a wave of rust-colored flames on his surroundings. Maria and I take the rear, summoning another strong barrier of shielding arrays. However, all of the attack patterns and offensive glyphs I witnessed in the ascended demon slaughter moments ago are still rushing through my mind. My fingers are tingling as we venture toward the outer guards, trying to calculate if we're strong enough to join the fight as well. Our steps through the air start to get more difficult to land as gravity around us begins bending in strange ways. The purple divine thread count rises exponentially as the true cores of so many outer guards come near. All of them leave the settlement and split up through the forest to try and attack from different angles. It's only a matter of seconds before the first shockwave of soul weapons flashing ripples through the domain. I watch over 100 ascended demons get shattered to mist in the shockwave, and many more collisions follow as a group of 10 guards all team up on Ulger at once. Another 13 surround Vardon, and an extreme wave of flames pulses out from his back to protect his vitals, holding over half of them back. Only 5 manage to collide with his tusks where he allows them to land. I watch 9 guards disappear into the branches above toward Axel's last position, and soon after, shock waves of white light burst down and evaporate large areas of the lush leaves. The white griffin dodges, twists, and sends brutal attacks back as purple-cored demons attack him in the sky. They are completely occupied. I see Ulger's dual blades slash through the cores of 2 demons, killing them early on in this battle. Vardon skewers 3 with his tusks and incinerates 2 more with a concentrated wave of flames, and I see Axel injure over half of the demons following him in the sky, but only kills 1. Before they're able to land any devastating blows, the demons in the back of these group formations send charged-up attacks of demonic essence their way. Axel and Ulger have the agility to dodge, but it limits the number of attacks they can throw. Additionally, it forces them to move back and lose better positioning in battle. Vardon, on the other hand, has to tear up the ground and expel large amounts of rust-colored glyphs to create explosions large enough to alter the paths of the demonic essence attacks. This gives him enough space to dodge but tires him out more. The dark purple attacks fly through the air in the shapes of crescents, arrows, orbs, and even oscillating unique attacks. None of them hit, but they do begin destroying the trees all around and making it much harder for the three of them to dodge. While I do focus on their fights, I'm far more vigilant watching the four outer guards that never attacked any of them. The story has been taken without consent. If you see it on Amazon, report the incident. 3. Stay far back. Watching the battle unfold in a triangular formation. I can tell one is charging up a long-range attack, I just don't know who it's aimed at yet. Another one of the demons zips around the battlefield holding 2 curved sharp black daggers, but does not get close enough to any of the 3 fighters to send attacks of his own or get within the blast radius of fatal attacks either. Our glyph barrier is being struck by shockwaves on all sides, but it is more than strong enough to withstand the blasts. Only minor glyphs on its outer layers are being fractured and fall off every hit. Adding another layer on the inside is extremely easy. It allows us to soak in the information and fighting styles with far more of our mental power. The demonic glyphs used by these outer guards are much more potent, refined, and efficient than the ones the ascended demons used. I mentally shift the use cases for my own while experiencing my glyph maturity rise. Another outer guard falls out of the sky in pieces after Axel lands a long-range attack, and Ulger slices another in half. His head turns around when he senses an energy wave coming from his back. A dense ball of demonic essence comes shooting out from a strange cannon-like weapon the outer guard that stayed behind the 2 scouts. He dodges it just in time, but the orb still strikes the base of a primordial tree behind him. It tears a large enough hole in its trunk that the tree starts to creak and sway. The guard turns his cannon upward and shoots another orb without having to charge again at Axel. The griffin already saw it coming and swoops down, twisting its body out of the way while the purple ball packed with white glyphs flies away into the sky. It turns to Vardon, and the fiery mammoth has already prepared a counter. He forms a dense rust-colored fireball in between both of his tusks and charges it up for almost a full second. When the next orb of demonic essence comes his way, he lets the counterattack fly and collide with the purple orb. Vardon spins, stabbing another outer guard through the core as he runs, and a wall of flames erupts higher than the tree's branches above behind him. The demonic essence melts through his fireball like acid, but in doing so, it also destabilizes the outer edges of his attack that were not touched by this compact purple orb. An O-shaped ring of rust-colored fire destroys the ground, roots, and trunk of a nearby tree. It creates even more obstacles and slows down this cannonball enough to dodge. In the burst of fire, 2 more outer guards are incinerated to a pile of molten glyphs. The cannon user doesn't stop there. He aims right for us and lets another ball rip. Maria and I brace for impact, and many of the outer guards turn their heads to watch when they realize we're not dodging. A loud bang shakes the battlefield, but only the outer 20% of our defensive array is broken. The demonic orb that melts through everything it touches explodes into useless demonic sludge. Most of the ether commands inside become scrambled, and all of their glyphs fracture or explode into dust. This moment of distraction as the guards turn their heads is followed by more than half of the remaining being one-shot killed. Fractured demon cores, horns, and soul weapons fall from the sky. A black ogre's aura dances through a number of trees, slicing through demons' weak points, and Vardon charges another rust-colored fireball between his tusks and lets it explode directly in front of his attackers, incinerating some and following through to trample and stab those that weren't finished off from the blast. All 3 of these monsters take heavy hits themselves. They dodge the demonic essence attacks, but the glyphs made of pure high-quality ether from these demons are sent out in too high of a succession. Large white gashes open up on the mammoth's hide where his blind spots are too tough to fully protect. Ulger's left shoulder is heavily injured, and white griffin feathers fall from the sky. However, none of their vibrations show any signs of pain or stopping. They fight like they were never even hit. The cannon user lets out a demonic roar of anger as it realizes we just pulled off the impossible. 3 more bursts of dense purple orbs come flying out from the barrel of its soul weapon, and we brace for impact again. Even on impact, we start summoning more glyphs to replace the ones I'm sure will be shattered to pieces. It breaks through half our defenses, but still we're left untouched. I let out a laugh, and Maria grins, staring forward at the magnificent scene. Ulgar kills the final demons that were attacking him and immediately runs further into the forest toward the long-range cannon user's three-demon formation that has been causing so much trouble. A screech comes from the sky as Axel kills his final outer guard, and a primordial tree falls down off in the distance covered in demonic essence and rust-colored flames as Vardon violently crushes the remainder of his bunch. The stern-eyed mammoth's gaze turns to the trio that Ulgar and Axel are aiming to kill, but as another 3 cannonballs relentlessly come shooting out of its barrel toward us, his eyes track them instead. To your left, there's another outer guard. While summoning enough new glyphs to withstand this impact, my own senses track where Vardon is looking, and the shifty dagger-wielding demon is moving quickly from tree to tree, using the auras of these cannonballs to lessen his presence. Once spotted, he moves out from hiding, and the purple cord demon's eyes lock with mine. 3 massive explosions coat my vision in demonic essence, but I'm certain once this dome of purple fades and reveals the battlefield again, that outer guard will be close enough to attack, and no one is in a position to help us. My instincts are correct. The instant the waves of demonic essence flood down into the crater below, the outline of an energy from a 1 billion kilometers tall outer guard with 2 curved daggers comes rocketing toward us. Both its blades are coated in dense demonic essence, and its eyes are sharp, focused on us while we continue to form more protective arrays after the last impact from the cannon. The outer guard moves faster than any of the others I've been watching, but that may only be because he hasn't worn himself out fighting the monster trio and has been building up his energy in the shadows. There are streaks of black and purple aura trailing behind him, and his whole being is veiled in a shadow of darkness, like he's using some kind of dark mist or shadow step ability, both of which I'm very adept at from fighting demons of the past with them. However, it seems like the glyph imprints he's using aren't able to properly assimilate these moves. It's only his natural body that activates them. That is why they do not react on such a massive scale, flooding this entire forest into darkness or making him teleport through shadows avoiding my gaze. They still increase his movement speed and abilities to a noticeable degree. It is just an intriguing understanding that crosses my mind while both his blades collide with our protection arrays. There is a destructive force of impact that does not budge at first, but quickly begins shattering layers of our defenses. It feels like a heavy gravity weight is pushing down in 2 thin points of contact where his blades have collided, and it only gets stronger as demonic essence floods out of his core and into the blades to push harder. Our glyphs do not melt like acid is being poured on them like everything else, but they are breaking under the enormous stress. Fractures begin traveling through the layers, breaking through patterns of glyphs below the surface. It allows the pure primordial aura, divine core strength, ether purity, and royal vibrations of this outer guard to bleed through and touch our souls without any protection in between. My consciousness instantly goes into shock. It's the pressure that the divine threads and ether purity pressing down on our souls that feels unbearable. The gravity difference makes it feel like my divine core's effectiveness just dropped by 20 times, like my internal gravity has shifted, and it's that much harder to move a single finger. The ether purity pushes billions of sharp needles into the outside of my soul, as the pressure of real high-quality ether limits the speed of my refined medium-quality ether's flow speed. However, the vibrations are lackluster. They seem similar to that of the ancient royal I was expecting, and its primordial aura mimics its strength. My will and Maria's combined are easily 100 times stronger. This gives us a small advantage in the moment. While our entire protection array shatters into mist and fractured glyphs, we are blasted backward even further away from the mana-based monsters on our side. There should have been an easy opening for this demon to kill us, but its eyes open with even more shock than ours. The instant our barriers are crushed, the overwhelming bubble of primordial aura, and the vibrations of 2 royal humans with wills stronger than any outer guard this demon has ever interacted with, makes his mind go numb. "What are you?" he yells, shaking himself out of the daze. A kick off the air leaves a trail of darkness behind him as he follows us after the blast. Red and blue glyphs rapidly form around us again, using large amounts of our ether pools to build them. He yells again. How could a lesser race with a lifespan this short become so strong? It makes sense why the First Bloods sent out a kill-on-sight order. His eyes become even more fierce. I will give my life for this mission. Even if I can only come back as an Ascended, I will be praised by the King for eternity for killing specimens like you. This novel's true home is a different platform. Support the author by finding it there. More essence pours out from his core, covering his curved daggers in demonic energy and countless white glyphs. We're too slow. The demon collides with us again, shattering through every one of our defensive arrays. It feels like he's sending many attacks at once, like pulses of energy come out from his blades every time they make contact. My eyes shift behind the demon, watching Vardon turn our way, but he's way too far for any attacks to help right now. Another explosion of black and white auras even further away signals that Ulgar and Axel just killed the remaining 3 outer guards. We're on our own here. Maria and I both push our celestial grade all-seeing eye and foresight skills outward, and bounce strategies off each other's minds. The strength of our primordial aura alone is not enough to suppress this demon. It needs to be paired with a concentrated use of our glyphs. I can tell its exact strength just from a glance, and after witnessing all of the outer guard's defensive arrays and attack patterns, I'm certain with one good hit either Maria or I could kill him. It isn't a matter of speed or raw strength either. Borrowing stats to boost our mana output right now wouldn't help to increase our ether pools. The raw amount of glyphs are all that matter. If the attack we're formulating is blocked by this demon's daggers in any way, our entire ether pools will be exhausted, and we'll lose. However, both of its daggers are plummeting toward us. There will be no breaking his concentration. If we summon another set of glyphs right now, using the entire remainder of our ether pools to act as a violent explosion-based propulsion array, we could escape one more time, but would be killed once he catches up. This demon's aura has seeped into our souls again, and it knows exactly how much energy we have left. Our options are very limited, and he knows it. I try to contact the sword deep in my soul, but after this demon's probing, it's retreated even deeper, falling into a dormant state so sound that it's hard for me to even tell it's still there. I'm weaponless. All I can do is defend. This outer guard is guaranteed to land a hit, so that's exactly what we'll give it. I send through a telepathy link to Maria as my final option comes to mind. Risky. I don't like it, but that will work. She sends back and nods, pushing me downward with her left hand filled with blue glyphs, and jumps upward, propelling herself away from me with even more. Her soul sword starts to materialize in her other palm, but it doesn't take shape quickly. It only looks like a sparkling, refracting ball of source resin at first. The royal demon lets out a laugh as it watches me pour my entire ether pool into hopeless defensive arrays. Ha! I love it. A useless betrayal. I'll enjoy killing her even more once she realizes she could have died by your side with some dignity instead. The outer guard's trajectory shifts, and both its blades turn toward me. I rocket downward into a crater already formed from earlier, with nowhere to run. It should be an easy kill. When its blades collide against my layers of red arrays, made of almost 200,000 total solo glyphs, massive shockwaves burst through the forest. Billions of glyphs flood through the demonic essence, all of far weaker strength, but the volume of high-quality ether is so much greater. One after another, my arrays are shattered, and the demon's eyes grow more crazed. I can feel every bit of intent in his aura, as he truly feels like he is now fulfilling a lifelong mission of glory that will gain him respect from the figures of authority in this zone. There is no way for me to possibly escape, so he doesn't bother hiding anything. His every action is like reading a wide-open book. I start shifting my internal organs and vital points to prepare for an inevitable blow. The last barrier shatters, and I feel my ether pool become completely exhausted. Only small drops are left. This is followed by the sharp swing of 2 purple daggers. They are so thin and sharp, I don't even feel them cut through me at first. One slices clean through my neck, and the other right through my chest, perfectly avoiding all 3 of my cores as all of my mental energy went into controlling this result with my foresight skill. My astral form breaks apart, shattering, and my body within mimics it, as it is an outward manifestation of my soul. I continue falling in 3 pieces, and hear this demon's laughs echoing through the forest. though the only expression on my face is a grin. A flash of blue and sparkling rainbow light erupts from behind the dark demonic figure that was blocking out the sky in my vision. A diamond-colored sword slices through the back of this demon and collides in a single point, fracturing its royal demon core. All of Maria's ether pool is thrust into this attack as well, but it is stored at the tip of her blade. Hundreds of thousands of icy blue ether commands activate in the defenseless core of a royal demon entirely caught off guard. Crystalline structures explode from within its chest, shattering its core, and spreading all throughout its body. As its eyes grow colder, and the life begins to leave its soul, there is still some pride in its face as it believes I'll die once I hit the ground. However, I feel the outer guard's vibrations grow weak, because the last imagery it sees is of me releasing the hold on my own demon's core, and tendrils of corruption soak up the demonic essence that cover my wounds. The black coils of corruption spread through my energy pathways and jump out of my chest from hundreds of points, pulling the pieces of my body back together. My astral form is healed as good as new once I land on 2 feet at the bottom of the crater, and the dead remains of the outer guard crash down in a pool of liquid, horns, daggers, and shattered rainbow-colored ice all around me. Maria crashes down next to me. Her sword glistens brighter than every fractured glyph around. Her ether pools are exhausted just like mine. Her source resin and soul sword seep back into her body to conserve the small amount of energy she has left. The corruption that pulled my astral body back together erupts outward to begin draining the pools of demonic essence falling around us, and pockets of soul storage open up to store this demon's horns and soul weapons. Maria gains just over 100,000 levels from landing this kill shot, and I hear notifications ringing in my inner ear too. Level up, X92, 716. I do not receive the memory absorption or buff stealing of the final kill, but my level bursts up to LV 582,052. This is from Maria's passive activation of the experience sharing perk. Our soul bond is slightly different than the one I have with Ember. Our mana-based systems are separated, and we do not automatically gain experience. Our levels are very similar, but my mind is only focused on the facts in front of me. This outer guard must have been at least level 700,000. If they're only the grunts carrying out the First Blood's dirty work, I can't imagine what level the Imperial family head's level might be. When having this brief encounter with an outer guard up close, it felt like the system was lagging behind the automated glyph movements it was following out. While high-quality ether is extremely powerful, and is these outer guards' greatest asset, I can only wonder what it would have been like if it could have been fully integrated. Considering every rank up I've had adapted me to the environment I was in, the possibility of a demon going through another rank up in this zone, and adapting to its glyph imprints is not impossible. My thoughts are all out in the open, Maria is reading them, and now thinking exactly the same thing. I get data back on her sword strike, where she used her entire ether pool to activate standard glyphs we watched the demons using. But the actual destructive power came from the high-quality ether stored in her source resin. It only released itself into the attack once her pools were depleted. Maria had no control over its actions. Like another consciousness activated the strike within her diamond sword. Neither of us can figure out how this occurred, but it feels so natural. Before it even happened, both of us instinctually knew it would. We float up out of the crater, and are greeted by 3 wide-eyed mana-based monsters. You killed an outer guard. Half an hour ago I could have killed you with a sneeze. Vardon yells, as he's the first to arrive at the blast site. He puts out his ferocious flames when he realizes we don't need saving. Ulger and Axel both peer over the edge next, and neither say a word for a few seconds. Flashes of white energy start to flicker all throughout the forest behind them, and a few hundred ascended demons try attacking to avenge the outer guard. A wave of rust-colored flames kills half of them, and gusts of wind push the others back or shatter them to mist. Ulger doesn't move, he just stares at us longer than the others, then does a deep scan. You may have won, but you two don't look great. Do your thing with the rest of the demonic essence and come follow. Quickly. Axel butts in next. He's right. Even though we took out the threats inside, we need to get what we came for and leave this domain before they notify anyone outside. As long as we can get back to the neutral flatlands before being trailed, they won't be able to catch us. A wave of refined high-quality ether bursts out of us as my corruption fully digests the essence it absorbed. Some of it is assimilated into Maria's source resin, but a majority floods out into the air. The three astral forms in front of us are able to take it in with much greater ease than the raw ether in the air. You might be reading a stolen copy. Visit Royal Road for the authentic version. All of them realize this is the case as we leave, and the griffin, ogre, and mammoth follow right behind to benefit from this process as well. We stop from corpse to corpse, and I devour the demonic essence from each and every one of them. All of their horns and soul weapons fall into my soul storage, making my collection surpass 50 weapons in total now. We pass by a stray pocket of celestial energy too, and it satiates us a bit. However, even after every corpse and stray blast of demonic essence, our cores are still at only half the capacity they were before. My understanding of glyphs has significantly increased, making it even easier to summon arrays, but I still feel slightly more vulnerable than I'd like to. The sensation of not being able to grab my soul sword whenever I'd like to grows with discomfort. I didn't notice it as much before because I wasn't fully expecting to go into battle, but now that I know it may be the case again, it feels like I'm floating around partially naked. We shift our route back toward the settlement, and Axel flies up into the sky again. Vardon and Ulger float by our sides now, instead of in front and behind. Their vibrations each give off a new layer of respect toward us. Not just as anomalies with extremely large primordial auras or fancy sentient lockpicks, but as strong allies that can fight near their level. Occasionally, new teams of ascended demons pop out from random places in the forest, and the ogre and mammoth kill them before they come close. The attacks become more constant once the view of the first row of houses in the settlement appears in front of my eyes. They were nothing but outlines and ether commands in my mental view, but seeing them in person is completely different. Each megastructure looks to be almost the same size as the primordial trees behind us. They are filled with stagnant primordial aura and preset high-quality ether commands. They do not flow with life like the trees. It looks like a massive amount of the forest was cleared out, or possibly never even existed at all. There are hundreds of structures, and when we come within visual range, tens of thousands more ascended demons flood out to attack us on sight. Cause echo from the sky as Axel sends long-range attacks down at many that have only newly emerged from the towers. Ulger and Vardon don't look very concerned. They start sending long-range attacks out too, then slash and stab at those that come close. Maria and I summon a few protective arrays to shield our souls from the shockwaves and impacts created by these monsters, but we only have to summon a few hundred glyphs total. After being directly exposed to that outer guard's raw aura, these blasts are nothing. As ascended demons are crushed to white mist and fractured glyphs, we float upward and forward unfazed. Instead of going deep into the settlement to face the swarm, we just fly above the towers. The 5 rows of them I saw in my mind's eye earlier quickly pass, and another 5 rows of buildings pass after that. I see even more off in the distance. There are over 1,000 of these structures, and more keep spawning into my mind's eye. They are all built in a symmetrical grid, and have exactly the same size square-shaped foundation. They are hundreds of stories tall, and look like black rectangles flashing irregularly with white glyphs, but all of them vary in height. Some even stand over twice the size of others. Looking down, it is both an eerie and incredible sight to see. Over 100,000 ascended demons have been slaughtered on our way over this settlement, and it seems like they only keep appearing in larger and larger groups. The dense pockets of celestial energy even start to come back in even greater frequency. Maria and I enjoy this delicacy while quickly moving toward our end goal. By the time we've passed 15 rows of buildings, our soul energy core's ether pools are full with more refined medium-quality ether than they ever have before. As the next wave of pure celestial energy hits, we far surpass our previous limit, and I feel as though if I had this much energy in our last battle, I could have landed an attack with Maria to end it and still have a small amount left over. My soul feels warm, tingles with satisfaction. In the depths of my mind, I even feel an extremely dense collection of unreadable glyphs far off in the distance further than my eyes can see. Two loud caws from Axel high up in the sky make Ulger turn his head toward me and confirm what I think it is. Less than half a minute until we arrive. The ritual site is right up ahead. I grin and nod, then look forward, using a small red propulsion glyph beneath my feet to push me forward and keep up with the two ogre and mammoth's movement speed. The edge of the settlement comes into view, stopping at 19 rows, yet I blink a few times and look forward with my celestial grade all-seeing eyes a second time as I feel like I just saw a blurry figure floating in our path. I saw it too. Maria's voice echoes through our telepathy link as we stop moving forward. Ulger and Vardon stop out of reflex, looking back at us with confusion, then looking in the direction we are staring at with skeptical eyes. A wave of primordial aura bursts through the entire settlement, hundreds of times stronger than any of the outer guards ever showed. Reality feels like it's been turned upside down. Gravity becomes too strong to withstand, and we start falling down toward the nearest tower's roof below us. Out of the corner of my vision, I even see the massive fiery mammoth falling victim to this immense gravity, and Ulger struggling to keep himself upright in the fall. Both of them are plummeting toward other towers in the distance. There is even a streak of white light falling from the sky as Axel lets out a painful caw. Ulger's voice yelling, "It's a first blood!" is all I hear through the chaos as I turn my neck hard enough to stare at the blurry outline of an invisible royal demon with its hands raised. On the far side of the purple zone, a crimson-eyed dragon in his human form sits on the edge of a tear in space that leads down to the zones below and the lower realm. A bright white ascended elf curiously floats around him, asking questions while they watch a galaxy-wide war taking place. None of them can wield primordial aura. How are they possibly going to win these fights? Ember doesn't move. He only stares downward and lets out a sigh. I don't know. That is still unclear. A moment of silence passes, and after Ren twirls around him 3 more times, he nods and stands to his feet. The immortal healer and last wyvern are fully awakening their amplifier legacies. That is the first bit of good news at least. Ember slowly begins walking around the rift in the ground in a circle, watching more events play out, then occasionally looking up out into the primordial garden in the direction of its center where the ritual domains and stump of the Tree of Life remain. Ren speaks again, "But what about Jay? You can help him, right? There's no way someone could come to the purple zone and be strong enough to take on outer guards in a few hours." Ember shakes his head, then looks down at his hands. "What? You think I can help him here?" White glyphs float around his wrists, then swirl into his palms. However, they sink into a soul storage moments later. He chuckles while looking up at the heavy foliage above. Dragons cannot accept glyph imprints. The arrays I managed to create aren't summoned. They're manual creations made of high-quality ether. It is quite inefficient for a real fast-paced battle. How could a living legacy itself take on a second one? It would break the laws of nature. Ren's happy twisting and twirling around Ember starts to slow, until they stop right in front of his eyes. "What do you mean?" "Dragons aren't real," Ember says in a playful tone as he looks the confused elf in the eyes. Ren blinks a few times, trying to process what he said, but nothing makes sense. Ember shrugs. "Have you ever seen a dragon in the primordial garden?" Ren looks up to think, but Ember continues without an answer. "Maybe there are a few, but they would be killed off quite quickly. After all, to complete the saturation of a demon's glyph imprints, they must merge it with their dragon's soul. In essence, they are dying, but at the same time living on forever in their wielder's legacy." Silence follows. Then Ember sits back down to stare into the lower realm. "That's why I say it would be quite impossible for a legacy to try to claim their own." Ren floats down and questions him again. "Then, wouldn't that mean Jay needs your help even more? If he's facing demons with their glyph imprints fully awakened, would you need to merge with his to give him a fighting chance?" Ember grins, then starts slowly swinging his legs in the rift's void below. "What gave you that impression? Jay isn't a demon. The legacy he and Maria inherited is far different. Right now, out of everyone in this galaxy, I think he's the least likely to need help." The crimson-eyed dragon starts to laugh, and the confused elf nervously circles around him. In the domain they're currently hidden in, Nothing from the outside garden can possibly hear them. I watch a white griffin, black ogre, and fiery mammoth fall from the sky in front of me. The primordial aura that spreads out from a single point floods through multiple rows of buildings. The outer guard's auras would not seep out further than 1 or 2 billion kilometers at most. This demon, I can feel its aura spreading for tens of trillions of kilometers. When I try to look at its body, where I'm sure the aura is permeating from, all I get back is the blurry visual of a demon about 75 billion kilometers tall, over 100 times larger than some of the outer guards. Unlawfully taken from Royal Road, this story should be reported if seen on Amazon. All it does is float in place and stare forward. No matter how focused my all-seeing eyes get, I cannot see through the primordial aura surrounding it. The aura should be transparent and allow me to see through it without a problem, but there is something far stronger tethering this aura to reality. Maria and I are already pooling our auras and creating a series of protective arrays in front of us to try and prevent more of this constant shockwave from wearing down our psyches. 5 loud thuds echo throughout the settlement as the gravity in the air only gets stronger. All of us slam against the nearest roofs of buildings below. Maria and I are the only ones that land on the same tower. Additionally, we're the only ones that land upright on our feet. This is because at our point of impact, both of us borrow 5% of stats from my links of loyalty. It does nothing to improve the strength of glyphs being produced or our primordial aura's reach, but it does increase our reaction time and the strength of our currently activated astral forms and greater forms. After impact, we waste no time and activate our strongest energy forms. I have no fear anymore of perceiving anything too complex that would potentially overwhelm my mind. After seeing into that outer guard's aura, I'm sure I can handle what almost debilitated us when first entering this zone. My sacred body activates, and Maria's Archangel's celestial body activation is triggered as well. Red and blue light explodes upward in pillars from the top of the black tower we stand on, and it creates enough pressure for its roof's outer shell to fracture. My soul pours out of my astral form, summoning silky smooth muscle mass that tethers to my royal vibrations and saturates its flesh with the bubble of primordial aura around me. Every one of my soul armor pieces that were bonded deep in the ravine of the Cyan Zone grows in size to create a glimmering white suit of armor, only exposing my head. Red celestial fire bursts outward as well, swirling with black tendrils of corruption to begin covering my body and face with another layer of protection, even creating the manifestation of horns above my head. My form grows over 50 billion kilometers tall, and Maria's sparkling diamond wings erupt from her back beside me. An aura of ice seeps out from her celestial body, and it easily flows with my fiery aura without any reaction to each other. The same glyphs glow all over the outsides of our bodies. When we raise our hands to produce more protection arrays, it flows like second nature. Instead of having to reach from our ether pools deep within our cores, the ether is already available in our energy forms. Wisps of our energy just float off our bodies into the compression arrays to form glyphs even faster. In fact, the floor beneath our feet cracks open more and more as our transformations complete, and I feel a very familiar feeling. Pure, refined celestial energy leaks out from within. We drain it through our feet and pour more into our arrays. It isn't much, not even the same amount as a full cloud we would come across in the atmosphere, but it's noticeably more than should be normal. I even feel a flicker of a consciousness waving at me from below, just like the Dryad's domain barrier, stuck deep within this building's craft. However, it is not strong enough to catch my full focus. My gaze is far more steady on the royal demon that is starting to appear in my newly enhanced vision. So this is what I was summoned out here to deal with. It makes sense that the outer guards couldn't kill you, but it is still below my rank as a first blood to take out common lesser race trash like you. It grunts out, then raises a single hand. I still can't see its facial features, nor a solid appraisal of its armor or level. All I'm beginning to see are bright purple glyphs imprinted all over its greater demonic form, and matching purple eyes gazing forward with hatred. The shadowy outline of 2 short horns on its forehead comes into view too, but I quickly shift my vision to its hand. A thin purple line of runes begins to summon into existence. Then it becomes thicker and longer until the demon grasps it and swings it across its body. From the distance between us, easily 100 trillion kilometers away, logically I know it is impossible to strike us from this distance. Yet, my instincts scream at me to summon every protective array I have the second this demon's hand moves. Collectively, Maria and I summon over 2 million glyphs in fractions of a second, tens of times more than anything we've created before, and with our peak forms activated, they're larger and rooted in reality with far more force than anything seen in the Outer Guards battles earlier. Vardon, Ulgar, and Axel are all pinned down to the roofs of nearby buildings, unable to even lift their heads to watch. Our ether pools are exhausted by over 2/3 in an instant, and every drop is well worth it. A massive purple beam of demonic essence slams into our arrays like 100 trillion kilometer-long laser pointer has swept across the battlefield. Some of the taller buildings nearby have their upper stories sliced through, and they just begin sliding off from the clean cut. This beam of purple light is held at the end with one hand and swung like a bat by the demon. It collides with our protective arrays and shatters almost every single one of them in their centers in an instant. In the time we have to react to the impact, we begin using up our remaining ether pools to activate propulsion arrays as the last glyphs that demon will hit. We use the inevitable impact to our advantage and get blown flying backward deep into the settlement behind us. The first impact I feel is my back against a taller tower behind us, and it's cracking and breaking apart as the momentum pushes us all the way through. Fear is the initial primary emotion running through my mind, but the next is relief as I watch the strange energy weapon continue its path across the settlement, meaning it's past us now, at least until this demon swings its arm again. However, in the moment, that feels like it's an eternity away. Only exhilaration fills my heart now, and a wide smile spreads across my face. From within the building we've just crashed through, a massive cloud of pure, refined celestial energy pours out, paired with the faint tremble of a new Dryad's consciousness awakening from within this tower's glyphs again. It is extremely easy to absorb the raw celestial energy pouring out from the broken building behind me. There is no need to channel it through my energy pathways, or grab onto the raw particles with my royal vibrations and primordial aura bubble from far away. Now, my ether pool is present on the outer side of my sacred body, so just the physical contact alone is enough to instantly siphon it into my energy stores. I feel the entire bottom half of this building activate countless arrays once it feels our presence, and more white-hot energy flows upward from the many floors below that we haven't even crashed through. By the time my back hits the wall on the other side of the tower, and breaks it open too, I feel my ether pools become saturated with multiple times more ether than they had moments ago at their peak when this battle started. The momentum pushes me back, flying over the roof of 2 more buildings. I watch plumes of excess celestial energy flow out from the building Maria and I broke in half, then slam into the side of another. This one we don't burst all the way through, we've slowed down enough to only leave demon and angel-shaped imprints in its side. Cracks splinter all the way through this tower's side, and I feel celestial energy pouring out again. We don't move, and the streams of pure white power continue to flow into our veins. In front of us, there is only the presence of a demon floating in place with wide-open eyes, and an emotion of anger held in its primordial aura as it ripples through the entire settlement. Why do you not run? Do you truly believe you have the power to defeat a First Blood? The most powerful life form to grace this galaxy for billions of years? Lesser races like you cannot comprehend the difference between us. Its voice echoes through the air. I can't tell if it's speaking these words out loud, or if they're being transmitted into my mind. The demon is becoming harder to see again, like the primordial aura right around its demonic form is becoming denser. Even its vibrations seem to be compressing and becoming stronger than any normal royals should. The pressure and gravity become even more intense, but we begin summoning far more glyphs around us while taking advantage of this dense source of energy. I watch the laser pointer of demonic essence it holds in one hand finish its journey across the settlement, then compress back into a single point in the First Blood's palm. When he throws his arm forward again, it looks like a long purple rope with some slack is being whipped out. The travel speed is slower than the near-instant hit the laser had, but it is far too fast for us to react with a dodge. The end of this whip hits the center of our combined blue and red protection arrays and shatters half of them to mist instantly. The other half all show signs of cracking and fractures, making sure the demon's growing aura seeps through and touches our souls. The building behind us explodes from the impact pressure and gushes with excess celestial energy again. There's enough force for us to break through a second building behind it, then eventually stop ourselves on the edge of a roof behind it. Each time, more and more pure celestial energy bursts into the atmosphere, and I feel the sensation of a dryad's old glyphs waking up within the towers. My ether stores surge up, breaking 20 times their previous limits, and with my sacred body activated, I can summon compression glyphs all over the outside of my soul to siphon energy into creating high-quality glyphs much faster. There is no need to only form them from my palms. Support the author by searching for the original publication of this novel. Tens of millions of glyphs form around Maria and me, and we even stack a massive amount of impact cushions beneath our feet, merging with the root of this building as it fractures and breaks apart. When a whip of demonic essence slices through the clouds of celestial energy and falling towers before us, as the first blood demon extends its arm again to attack, we take its strike head-on. A shockwave of red, blue, white, and purple high-quality ether bursts out from the impact zone with far greater pressure than any of the others. This is because the force isn't relieved by our momentum backward. This time we stay steady in place. More of the building below us breaks, but we stay steady in the air between tons of shattering protective arrays both in front and behind. It gives us enough stability, and time stuck in a single place, to take advantage of the plumes of celestial energy pouring out of the tower below us. We only touched the others for milliseconds at most. Now we get over a full second standing in the center of this growing white cloud. The angered demon's roar transmits into our minds at the same instant. The shockwave of this exchange creates fractures like frail glass in the outside of every single building in this settlement. Maria pulls out her soul sword, and it shines so bright with a countless number of refracting points of source resin. When she points it forward, more and more blue glyphs start to form around it, creating structural arrays to keep it steady and sharpening arrays to enhance its power once used. All I can do is focus more and more on creating protective glyphs, as now my blade still lies dormant, not reacting to the aura of the battle going on outside my soul at all. I grit my teeth while I witness another purple whip coming our way. Now would be a great time to wake up. I send through a one-way telepathy link, but get only silence back. When the whip collides with our barriers again this time, it shatters through the newly summoned arrays. Once it does, the rope-like collection of arrays surrounded by demonic essence goes slack for a fraction of a second. This is when Maria jumps forward and swings her blade against its end. Another relentless shockwave bursts through the settlement, but a small area of this rope, about 100 billion kilometers long, turns icy blue and becomes infested by streams of reflective rainbow light. It shatters and breaks off, but the majority of the whip is pulled back the instant the attack is noticed. My eyes widen as I watch the demon's other hand raise, and it summons a ball of dark purple energy that extends into a straight line. Instantly, it swung like a bat, and a second beam of demonic essence starts slicing through every building in this settlement like the first rigid laser-like wave from the first attack it sent. I trigger explosive glyphs beneath my feet and join Maria in the air in time to fuse our arrays together to block. We're both blasted backward in an entirely different direction, destroying half a dozen towers behind us. The last impacts have made most of their outer walls weak, but this fills the air with more and more of the raw celestial energy, acting as a small positive in our favor. Before we even manage to get our footing and stop flying back, two purple whips of demonic energy come flying our way with pinpoint accuracy aimed toward our chests. We summon just enough glyphs to fend them off, but even the whip that Maria sliced through with her blade looks as good as new. More and more demonic essence just flows out from this demon's core to fuel them. Losing such a small amount seems to not have affected its strength at all. So, when there is an opportunity to strike again, Maria does not jump. At the same time, I've given up connecting with my sleeping sword, but begin to search in the depths of my soul for another alternative. The only times my blade has refused to fight in the past is when the opponent before it was not strong enough to pique its interest. In this new form it forcefully upgraded itself to, maybe it isn't entirely injured or dormant. It just does not believe that this demon is a big enough threat to show itself. Fine. If that's the way things are, I'll have to improvise. I send into the dark abyss in my soul, but get nothing back again. I just begin forming as many protective arrays as I possibly can while the whips retract and get ready to strike again. Maria does the same, filling the air with layers upon layers of red and blue text that spins and sparkles in an ancient dialect. If you can block this next attack yourself, and give me a moment to concentrate, I can give us the edge we need to fight back. I call out to Maria, simultaneously sharing the thought process I just went through after having an epiphany yelling at my non-responsive sword. Her eyes grow more determined, and as the two whips come flying through the clouds of mist and broken towers again, she grins and nods. I can hold on. With full trust, I release my grasp on the protective arrays and stop forming more to replace the ones that will certainly shatter upon impact. Instead, I take a step back and pull out all of the soul weapons and demon horns we collected from the outer guards. Then pour my full focus into activating my celestial grade craftsmanship. A massive pile of purple soul weapons and royal demon horns fall out of my soul storage in front of me. In this form, I have full control over my royal vibrations, celestial fire, corruption, ether pool channeling pure celestial energy into high-quality glyphs, pure mana, purple divine threads, and dense primordial aura holding it all together. If I spread out their reach, I can feel nearly this entire domain. All of the blast sites where outer guards and ascended demons were killed on the way here can easily be seen in the edges of my mind. This entire settlement that surrounds me is much closer, and I can peer into it with far greater detail as well, spanning hundreds of trillions of kilometers on every side. It would be simple to keep track of every single particle of energy floating through it. However, instead, I pull all of my visual and energy senses back in to focus on a single point. I turn off all of the background tasks of protecting myself and constantly summoning new glyphs to react to the demon attacking us. Reality around me turns to a black void. I trust Maria to protect me. The only thing I see are the crafting items in front of me, my glyph imprints, and all of my energy sources floating together in harmony. I know I cannot create anything as unique or with the same potential as my mysterious soul sword, but that is not my goal. All I want to do is create a weapon that will win me this battle. If it's destroyed in the process, that would still be a success. I do not have nearly enough soul energy to rely on raw power to win, and with this demon's strange whips and lasers, getting too close without dealing with them would be a death sentence as well. Maria's source resin seems to be able to neutralize them temporarily, and the strength of our glyphs is certainly strong enough to block them. It takes thousands of times more demonic glyphs to destroy one of ours. Yet, even that is not much of an advantage considering this demon can summon billions of them from its palms near instantly. There is only one clear advantage I can think of, an energy source that has been devouring demonic essence with ease, and that is my corruption. In their raw form, these black tendrils are quite slow. They aren't really made for use in battle itself, but when I stare down at these horns and soul weapons, I see worthy vessels. I can sacrifice these artifacts to create a long-range weapon. I'm sure of it. While dark energy pours out of my hands to surround the fuel for this craft, all of my glyph imprints light up at once. Even the majority that have not been stimulated yet. It is like I'm having a miniature enlightenment all on my own from discovering this ability and forcefully manipulating soul crafts and horns of demons from an ancient era. At the same time, two purple whips collide with the blue sparkling array that Maria holds alone. There are layers of red glyphs intertwined in it, but as the impact begins shattering layers, she replaces them just as fast, and the red glyphs quickly become less and less of the whole. Both whips loosen with some slack, then pull back. Maria does not even take the time to breathe. She summons more and more arrays around us, knowing I will not be able to help at all until my craft is complete. Another two domain-shaking shockwaves ripple through the settlement, as the whips crack again relentlessly, and the invisible demon far away lets out a wave of vibrations that become many times stronger than before. Maria's eyes widen as she feels every single array crack, and the vibrations hit her soul. She has felt plenty of royals in this zone already, but there is something fundamentally different about this one. The vibrations are sharper, denser, and deadlier. It's like they're capable of creating the same strength of intent with only a tiny fraction of the effort. The wavelength feels the same as a normal royal's, but the strength of each movement is imbued with a power that is unshakable. The deeper she lets her psyche fall into these vibrations, the more it begins to make less and less sense. This demon's primordial aura pours out hundreds of times further than hers, and it feels as though it holds that much more strength as well. Yet, it is because of these strange royal vibrations. They feel so calm and normal, but they hold a hidden depth that makes her shiver. She cannot tell if it is their natural state, or if this is some kind of suppression technique that hides their true strength. All she remembers in this instant is Ulger's words when first coming to the purple zone. He spoke of the First Bloods, a small number of demons that were all living in the first generation of this demonic race. He called them High Royals. While a tinge of fear ripples through her, Maria still trusts what she sees before her eyes. Even if this demon is a High Royal, it still can't break through her shielding arrays in a single hit. She also was able to break through these whips herself with a single sword slash. If vibrations and primordial aura were all that mattered in a battle, killing that outer guard would not have been so hard. Strategy, timing, and the power of superior glyph imprints are more important. This is all she thinks of while summoning more shields in this second clash. The impact of the whips this time is destroying her arrays faster than she builds them. I can feel her emotions boiling up in our soul bond, and I release a flicker of intent back, letting her know that my craft is about to be complete. A flash of white light erupts from between my palms, blinding the area around us for over 3 buildings on every side. The final layers of Maria's shielding arrays shatter at the same time. She could have summoned more to give us a few more tenths of a second, but it's no longer necessary. 2 black bolts with pointed arrow tips pierce out from the white clouds and collide with the closest points of weakness in the purple whips. These bolts look extremely similar to the attack Maria and I first blocked when running into a squad of outer guards outside this domain. It's the first demonic essence attack that collided with our glyphs, so its image is seared into my consciousness. The only difference is the bolts flying through the air now are made of compacted demon horns, demonic soul weapons, and royal-grade corruption tethering them all together. Floating inside these arrow bolts, millions of compressed, unique, dense black glyphs summoned from the Creator's legacy make this weapon a terrifying attack. They collide with the whips and shatter them at their weak points. The arrows that hit them explode and erupt outward with tendrils of corruption and black glyphs. It attaches itself to every bit of demonic essence in the vicinity and absorbs it into its growing mass. When the flash of light dims, 2 more arrow bolts blast off further into the settlement and hit the whips again at a slack point about halfway between us and the demon. The same explosions and absorption of this purple soul weapon occur, but the flash has cleared up enough to reveal what I've made. Wrapped around my right arm, there is an enormous black cannon-like soul weapon with 7 loaded bolts. One is larger than all the others in its center, while the other 6 surround it in a circle. I don't waste any time and let the next 2 bolts fly, and fractions of a second later fire off the final bolt. It's going to take a moment to reform these projectiles and summon enough glyphs to charge up this weapon enough to get ready to fire another shot. I used the cannon we faced in the last Outer Guards battle as the base for its mechanical function. Some mass is lost with every shot, so the souls and energy from the materials I sacrificed are used to form the bolts. If the corruption in the air can be collected again, it can be reused, but I'm not counting on it. What's fired is more than enough to set things in motion. Another 2 clouds of darkness destroy the purple whips right in front of the demon's hands. At first, this demon does not understand what has happened. Its soul weapons were just simultaneously attacked in 6 places and almost entirely devoured and destroyed by an energy source and glyph pattern it's never seen before. The largest black bolt of all heads right toward its chest, on a direct path to collide with its cores. It has maintained its sense of pride since the moment this battle started, showing off the fact that it could stand still and handle us all without having to move. While landing the direct hit would have been better, a grin still creeps across my face while I watch the near-invisible body of this demon shift its stance at the last moment. A small ripple of fear can be felt in its vibrations. The bolt still hits its right shoulder and blasts a massive hole in its defenses. The First Blood's eyes widen as it feels its demonic essence start to drain out from its body, like there is a liquid parasite on its shoulder. It begins summoning large amounts of dense primordial aura and high royal vibrations in the palm of its left hand, then slams it against the black infected area. A demonic roar shakes this entire domain. When it lifts its hand, I actually catch a glimpse of its real body for a moment. Part of its armor has been shattered, and even its flesh has been eaten through. High royal demonic blood drips down its side while the demon's thick primordial aura defenses all pull back up in front of it. Its true form is exposed just long enough for me to scan it and gather a few readings on its status. I can see this demon's noble and royal bloodline transformations are both fully unsealed, leading to its enormous demonic greater form. Its demon core is much darker than normal and I still cannot see it clearly, but I can see the First Blood Royal Demon's core tag as its descriptor. There are many unique soul armor pieces all over its body as well, that give off readings similar to artifact-class soul weapons, fully imbued with high-quality ether. There is a familiar celestial prism buff on its status. It glows with a dim light, and I feel soul ties connecting it to all of its armor pieces. However, in the combat attacks, it is not being used. It is definitely a technique hardly used in this zone. The demon's glyph imprints are all attached and in main control of its ether pools, but there is no mention of them on its status. These imprints, just like mine, are an internal inherited legacy that is not directly visible on the status screen. There is one thing that pulls a majority of my attention. It is the fact that this demon holds a single skill: demonic energy manipulation. It is at a rank I've never seen before, primordial grade. The moment I stare at this skill, another veil of invisible shielding lifts from my vision, and I feel a strong soul tie connecting this skill to a buff at the bottom of its status, below all of its bloodline transformations, called Primordial Defense. My eyes widen even more after this. The last thing I see before its shielding is placed back up is a bright LV 1268091 in the forefront of my mind, confirming that this demon must have gone through some kind of rank up again once its level surpassed 7 figures. I don't have much time to analyze these readings. All I do is mirror what I saw to Maria, then pull my focus into creating defensive glyphs again while my makeshift corruption bolt cannon recharges. There is no shortage of celestial energy in the air anymore. Almost every building in our surroundings has been torn apart, fractured to pieces, or destroyed by the impact of us slamming into it. Shrapnel that was blown high into the sky in the shape of Dryad's glyphs and black stone from the structures are still falling down from above. It is utter chaos, but the air is so dense with celestial energy, we absorb more than enough just through the outside of our souls. Our only limiter is how fast we can summon new glyphs. Yet, even this is becoming less of a problem for 2 reasons. The first is the fact that our souls are filling with so much excess celestial energy that the outward flow becomes stronger and faster. Glyphs are being formed faster because of the pure volume of celestial energy available. Secondly, the debris that showers from the sky is all imbued with the Dryad's dormant consciousness of that warm helping hand. With Maria and my glyph imprints frantically pulsing, and massive amounts of ether being stimulated, many of the glyphs in the air that were tethered to the towers start to spin and activate on their own. I feel them latch onto my sacred body for milliseconds at a time. Small pulses of non-threatening high-quality ether spread throughout our bodies and scan all of the actions we're doing. They begin replicating the intricate motions and funneling more celestial energy into compression arrays to help us summon glyphs even faster. When we move positions, the Dryad's glyphs lose their intimate touch, but with so many in the air and in the surrounding buildings, more continue to flake on and help when we fly through. The First Blood Demon quickly regains its composure and forms 2 purple whips in its hands again. Less than a full second goes by before it sends 2 lethal attacks our way, and explosions of blue and red glyphs erupt through the settlement again. All nearby buildings that somehow managed to stay standing in the last assault now crumble around us from the shockwaves. Over 20 million glyphs surround Maria and me, so this time only the outer layers of our defenses shatter. Our flight path is not even changed. Enough counterpropulsion arrays behind us went off predicting the force of the blows. The attacks don't just stop at one retaliation. The demon's arms begin to flail and the whips fly about in erratic patterns. At times, they straighten out and move incredibly quick in laser-like patterns, while at other times they go slack and use the crack and momentum to land slower but far more impactful strikes. The ends of these attacks hit our defensive arrays tens of times over the next few seconds, traveling hundreds of trillions of kilometers as we make a full circle back to cover the maximum amount of buildings in this settlement while I charge up my soul weapon again. Find this and other great novels on the author's preferred platform. Support original creators. It is a shame to watch the remaining architecture on the outer limits of this settlement all be destroyed, but the enormous amount of celestial energy and aid from the Dryad's glyphs is necessary to become stronger as these attacks continue to hit us. I can feel the pressure of this demon's high royal vibrations in the air growing tighter, and it's exerting more and more pressure from its primordial aura every passing second too. I rewatch the initial realization Maria had about them over and over in my head, and see that this first blood is actually unsealing its potential. It is trying to suppress us, but we're growing in power at the same rate. I can feel the dense primordial aura in its whips becoming so heavy and thick that if it struck us during our first clash with this, both of us would have been vaporized in an instant. Even now, the strengthened whip shatters over 15 million glyphs in a single slash. Even seconds ago, this would have been devastating, but we can form this many now with the flick of the wrist. Over 100 million red and blue glyphs combine to create massive defensive arrays and movement commands all around us. The outsides of both our bodies glow bright white as a large amount of the high-quality ether surrounding us is not even ours. The Dryad's glyphs are piling up. It was slow at first, but a chain reaction has begun to trigger. More and more of these stimulated glyphs are activating as we pass the abandoned towers. I even begin to feel massive moving arrays start to flicker beneath the rubble of the settlement we fly over. There is something below this ancient civilization, and it's calling for us with wide open arms. The First Blood's facial features start to become visible again, and pop-ups of its status screen start to flash in my mind when my aura breaks through its defenses every once in a while. I even get to see its face, and it matches the anger growing in its vibrations extremely well. This demon is frustrated, and it's about to hit a breaking point. All right, ready? I whisper with telepathy into Maria's calm mind. She nods, and we both instantly shift our flight paths. Instead of the wide circle around the outer edge of the settlement, we make a strict 90-degree turn and launch ourselves right toward the incoming whips. Portions of our defensive arrays shatter, and the layers beneath are manually lifted so that I can raise my right arm out again with 7 fully loaded bolts ready to fire. The sight of it makes our attacker subconsciously flinch, so I let out a laugh while firing off the first 2 shots. A First Blood demon is scared of a human's attacks? What was that you said before? Lesser races could not comprehend the difference between us. While internally, I know the difference in strength of our vibrations and primordial aura compared to this First Blood is undeniably vast. The raw power it holds is hundreds of times greater than my own, but there is something strange about our glyphs that slice through this power gap. Even the sparkling source resin on Maria's sword and wings, when it touches this aura, it is like an anomaly, unaffected by the demon's will. The black spiked bolts I send act in the same way, tearing through the atmosphere and colliding with the center of the incoming purple whips. When they break, and the explosion of black corruption tendrils begins to devour this demonic essence, I hear a ferocious demonic roar come out of the First Blood. Maria and I keep rocketing forward while I send out my next 2 shots. I aim for the whip's slack point near the demon's hands, but instead of taking the hit, it lets go of the remaining demonic essence like it is already a lost cause. The impact creates 2 more dark clouds while my corruption devours the rest of its demonic essence manifestations. Instead, the demon raises its hands, and the invisible mirror-like gravity wells of primordial aura in its palms grow denser. It remembers the last hit it took, and does not want to experience that again. I smile wide and let the 2 smaller bolts fly, and then let the kill shot arrow go right after. The demon's dark purple eyes are completely visible, and they stare me down with pure hatred while it raises its hands and grits its teeth. I'm not sure if it's stubborn, arrogant pride from the words I provoked it with moments earlier, or real confidence. Either way, it is exactly what I hoped for. It moves its palms in the way of both arrows, and bursts of invisible primordial aura and an unfathomable collection of high royal vibrations burst outward to surround every tendril of corruption. For a small moment in time, there is an opaque barrier of black glyphs, pure corruption, and primordial aura that shields my perception from reaching the demon. However, same goes for it. Maria steps forward and swings her blade across her body next, letting out an attack she's been holding back longer than me. At the same time, the largest bolt I send its way curves upward, as I imbued an enormous amount of time propulsion arrays in its base to make it twist and change direction. Instead of aiming for its chest, I've intended for it to collide with the demon's head. When the wall of corruption fades, the first blood's laugh echoes through the domain. It moves its head to the left, barely dodging the kill shot arrow. However, both of its palms are fully intact. Neither have cracked armor or any blood dripping down. It even looks smug, thinking that it easily outwitted this cheap trick of changing the bolt's position while it was momentarily blind. However, its smugness quickly fades. The first blood's eyes widen in fear, and it jerks its body out of the way when it feels an unbearable cold near its chest. A thin crescent of extremely compressed blue glyphs and pure source resin rockets in behind the chaos. Reflexively, the demon's survival instincts kick in, and it raises its left hand still covered in primordial aura. But even this is not enough. The crescent of energy collides with its palm and slices right through. It breaks through every piece of armor on its arm as well, splitting its flesh in half right down the middle and through its shoulder and back. The crescent of source resin seems unchanged as it keeps ripping through the atmosphere further behind. All of the areas where this thin crescent touched instantly erupt with diamond-like ice crystals. The entire upper left half of this first blood demon's body is destroyed and mutilated by living ice in an instant. A horrific wound opens up, ejecting frozen demonic flesh, armor fragments covered in glyphs, and raw primordial aura that is no longer attached to this demon's soul into the air. How is this happening? The king said it would be impossible for you to awaken your stolen legacies without the key. The demon yells out with hatred, and a loud, horrific roar to deal with the pain of losing an arm and a massive amount of its royal demonic form. The shape of this first blood demon's soul is permanently altered. Even my eyes open wide as I wasn't expecting Maria's attack to cause so much destruction. All of the primordial aura in the atmosphere retracts back into this demon, and it pools in its one remaining fist. A loud, crushing thud. Then a series of cracks echo through the domain as it slams its fist down on its own shoulder. Before the growing diamond ice crystals can expand into the rest of its body, a concentrated wave of primordial aura severs its own flesh and disconnects this growing icy plague of death from its body. Massive chunks of glistening icy diamonds fall into the craters below this demon's fully intact body. But the demon that still floats above is extremely injured. Waves of demonic essence, high royal vibrations, and primordial aura flow into the injured area as it tries to heal, but it's no use. Left behind is a void, like a portion of this demon's soul was just torn out of its very being. The more energy it uses to try and heal, and the more seconds that pass, the more fear grows in its eyes, and in turn, the rage that shakes this domain grows even more. Demonic glyphs pour out from its injury, forming a phantom arm, shoulder, and upper chest in its place. But when the demon's aura pours out into the settlement again, it's clear its domineering presence has been shaken. On the day of the sealing, I suffer a wound like this out of pure chance? You will pay for this. I will steal this strange, primordial aura-defying power you hold and take it for myself. It yells, and begins forming a whip again in its one remaining good hand. However, the first blood disregards its prideful mindset of not moving, and lunges forward in a blur of invisible aura and demonic glyphs. Without the pressure of its aura in the atmosphere, the aura that surrounds its body becomes many times denser. In turn, this demon's movements are incredibly fast. Its body is moving at the same speed its whips were cracking just moments ago. It's coming full force at us. Challenging this demon in a close-range confrontation would be problematic if this was the only variable that changed. The fact that it's pulled its aura back into its body means the overwhelming pressure of the atmosphere has been lifted. Gravity feels like it's decreased by hundreds of times, and there is no longer a constant vibration suppression trying to burrow into my mind. While Maria and my power surge, and our movement speed and energy manipulation efficiency skyrockets. 3 blurry bursts of white, black, and rust-colored light appear in the corner of my eye. The ogre, griffin, and mammoth that were pinned to the top of buildings, unable to even move before, catch a moment of relief. I watch them all fly out of the rubble in separate directions as far away from the battlefield as possible. All of them look in horrible shape, even though they never even were directly attacked. The buildings they were near did not even get hit by the demon's whips. The majority of the last impacts happened on the total opposite end of the settlement. None of them even attempt to help, and I don't blame them. There is nothing they can do but get in the way right now. In fact, watching their auras leave my field of view brings an even wider smile to my face. I no longer have any reason to hold back at all. In the time this demon threw a fit of rage, my corruption-wielding soul weapon has already almost fully recharged. Maria and I have begun shifting our directions through the clouds of glyphs and celestial energy near the center of the settlement too, and now control over 200 million of our own creator's legacy glyphs in a beautiful red and blue collection of arrays. This story is posted elsewhere by the author. Help them out by reading the authentic version. Even as the gap between us and this first blood demon is negated instantly, when it bashes its one good palm holding a shortened yet strengthened demonic whip against our defenses, it does not get the result it desired. There is an unfathomable shockwave that follows. Over 100 million red and blue glyphs shatter and release their energy. Billions of helping dryads glyphs that were floating around us, latched onto our souls, also shatter from the impact, and trillions of demonic glyphs erupt outward as this compressed whip breaks apart from the force of the impact as well. The main destructive force of this collision is the demon's primordial aura. Instead of getting blown backward from the shockwaves that instantly turn every single building in this settlement to rubble, it grabs onto space itself between us. Gravity bends in extremely strange ways, and I even watch the pseudo-arm of this demon fade and lose its strength as most of its primordial aura is being channeled into what it's doing now. It is an eerie sensation. We all float in the air above hundreds of destroyed structures, and a clawed demonic hand latched onto our remaining arrays. It pours its primordial aura into them, and I start to feel myself losing control of millions of them on the outer edge of our remaining defense. It's using brute force to tear them open. I feel the strong emotions in its vibrations right now, and it surprises me. This is not the calculated demonic rage of a family head like Muriel Vermilion, or the cool-tempered demeanor of that nameless demon in the Cyan Zone's abyss, or even the arrogant superiority of Samir Vanguard in the Blue Zone. Even the purple-cored outer guards fought with logical battle tactics and did not underestimate their opponents. This demon's rage is like a child throwing a fit. I don't think this first blood has ever seen anything in its life that could possibly injure it or even fight back in the slightest like we are. This demon is spoiled. It's never not gotten its way in this paradise stolen from an ancient race in the Purple Zone. However, it may be for good reason. Despite its unreasonable attitude, the overwhelming strength in its body has multiplied many times over. Even close up and personal, the layers of primordial aura around its being right now are like staring at a lead wall. I can't pierce a single reading through anymore. Even its high royal vibrations have compressed in on themselves and made its clawed fingers and flesh of the arm that tears through our barriers stronger than any substance I've ever seen. I'm positive if Maria tried to send an identical attack to her last source resin crescent toward this demon now, it would be useless. To test my theory slightly, I start to fire off some of the smaller black bolts of corruption from my arm cannon. I open up pockets of our defenses and send them through. I watch black clouds of corruption instantly explode when they hit its aura. They don't even touch the demon's skin. I'm sure this is the full activation of that ranked up buff on its status, Primordial Defense. I try to even let the raw corruption and black glyphs seep into its aura, but they're all constricted and starved of energy before touching this demon's real body. Before, these bolts could slice right through the less dense primordial aura in the atmosphere, but in such a compressed state, my weaker attacks have met their match. Even so, I try again for more times, aiming for any weak points I think I can strike, but nothing works. They're all ground to black mist. The demon's eyes only fill with more rage, and it tears apart our defenses faster. Clouds of shattered glyphs and red and blue mist begin to form behind this monster, while Maria and I begin to feel our ether pools slowly lose mass for the first time since the start of this battle. We're able to create glyphs at nearly the same rate as it destroys them, but we can no longer move. This primordial aura has a chokehold on our positioning. In just a few seconds, we are going to run out of raw celestial energy to compress into glyphs. Yet this demon still seems to have an endless well of power and rage to spew at us. Instead of waiting until the bitter end, Maria and I decide it will be better to set up our next attack while we still have the ether pools remaining to launch it. I don't recharge any of my smaller bolts again. I pour all of the remaining corruption and soul weapon mass into the single kill shot arrow I haven't fired yet. Maria channels her source resin to compress in her blade again. Both of us stop creating more glyphs and allow the demon to tear through the last of our defenses. We open a massive hole in the bottom of our arrays that were keeping us steady in place on purpose right after. In the next moment, dark purple claws destroy the last of our defenses. The sound of a sickening demon's roar enters our psyches without any mental shielding. The horrific pressure of the compressed primordial aura crashes down on us with nothing protecting us here either. It blasts us downward through the holes in our defenses, propelling us backward with a wave of gravity before its claws can even hit us. A tremor ripples through this entire ritual domain as we both slam into the ground, deep into the rubble of the settlement below. There are only calm expressions on our faces. We've carefully positioned ourselves to the exact point where all of the ancient Dryads' complex arrays in this settlement connect. It's what we have been feeling glimpses of this whole time, connected to a far stronger network below this domain. Now, as Maria and I look up at this first blood demon plunging down after us, a rush of warm celestial energy floods into the bottom of our feet. The shifting glyphs beneath my feet feel just like the domain barriers we opened up to get here. Just by touching them, we can instantly feel all of their intricate functions and intentions. The entire settlement feels like it's alive, breathing, and flowing into us. From the outside looking in, Ulger is looking back over his shoulder while flying away. All he's seeing is an enormous whirlpool of white energy forming. It all pours in toward the center of the rubble. All of the debris on the ground, and all of the glyphs and ether in the air. They're all held by a strange aura that flows up from the ground. It feels like we're in the presence of hundreds of primordial trees for a moment in time, and their aura all fills the atmosphere. I can tell by the fact that the first blood demon's falling speed slows down, that the rippling waves of gravity and primordial aura are hostile to outside forces. Maria and I are completely unaffected. It's as though there is no external pressure on us at all. We can function at our full capacity. With hundreds of times more celestial energy than we've ever had flowing into our pools, it becomes increasingly easy to prepare for what comes next. Over 500 million blue glyphs form all over Maria's upper body, wings, core, and legs. They root her to the ground and strengthen her stance. Every bit of glistening source resin flowing through her condenses deeper and deeper into her sword. Roughly the same amount of red glyphs form all over my body as well. I feel them rooting me in reality with a far more sturdy base, and increasing my speed and raw power more with every passing moment. A collection of jet black glyphs are being compressed in my right arm, as the soul weapon takes all of the remaining demon's horns and demonic soul weapons from the outer guards, and channels them into a single spiked bolt. Dense black coiling tendrils of corruption pour out of my royal demon's core to connect to this soul weapon, and continuously fuel it with energy and the stacked hatred toward the demonic royal families, from their many betrayed subordinates in the lower zones. As the whirlpool of debris closes in on the center of the settlement, all of the high-quality ether and remaining intact glyphs that have not been destroyed all begin to latch onto the outsides of our bodies. They are all controlled by the enormous spinning gear-like glyphs beneath the surface and create a bright white armor around us. It becomes imbued with hundreds of billions of Dryads' glyphs. If the core consciousness of this mechanism wasn't in line with mine, allowing me to perceive everything it touches, it would be impossible for me to see through this layer of glyphs and primordial aura. For a small moment in time, the whirlpool completely compresses in on us, and there is no longer any debris or even ether particles in the atmosphere any longer. The entire settlement is gone. Only a flat, open plain about 500 trillion kilometers wide is left. Unauthorized duplication. This tail has been taken without consent. Report sightings. In this open space, a dark purple demon collides with us. Two humans covered in white glyphs, glowing red and blue beneath. There is a moment of silence. Axel and Vardon both look back to join Ulger's curiosity as they flee, flying over primordial trees a quadrillion kilometers away. Not even a single divine thread moves out of place. The domain itself is holding its breath as the claws of this demon collide with us again. It has all of its primordial aura, high royal vibrations, and dense demonic essence harnessed in its palm, filled with certainty that it has won and will kill us here and now. Yet, the moment it touches us, all of the glyphs below our feet stop moving, then violently begin spinning in the opposite direction. The flash of white light that's produced blinds this entire domain, and the demon cannot even feel its primordial aura being vaporized from its soul. The ground beneath us cracks apart, and all of the Dryad's glyphs shatter from the pressure of their activation being challenged by this superior life form. A first blood demon, the very group of monsters that killed them off and took over this territory in the first place. However, this is a concentrated collective effort. The left-behind remnants of hundreds of Dryads in this tower are able to fend off this demon for a fraction of a second. That is all we need. The shockwave starts at its fingertips. An absurd amount of high-quality glyphs and Dryad's primordial aura floods upward, and deletes the invisible pressure surrounding this high royal. There is nothing it can do. Two equal forces are canceling each other out. The white burst moves up its arm, into its chest, down its legs, and through its head. Even the false arm it has summoned falls apart as all of its primordial aura is targeted and destroyed. The white glyphs in this settlement are destroyed too, and the outer layer of armor we were wearing is consumed in the clash. It protects us from the shockwave and adds to the firepower as well. However, the fiery red and icy blue glyphs beneath it all are untouched. A sword swing, and the activation of a demonic bolt of corruption launching are all this demon sees once the flash of white light clears. After the initial wave of shock passes, I watch dark purple demonic aura building up in this demon's chest instantly. It begins to spread out quickly, and with it, a wave of primordial aura tries to seep back into its body and regain its strength. However, it's too late. A bright blue wave of glyphs is the first thing to collide with this demon's bare body. They explode and tear its flesh open while a thin line of source resin collides with the center of its chest. The thin line is long enough to land between its eyes and slice between its legs as well. Almost instantly, diamond-colored ice crystals start forming all throughout its body, and the thin slash continues moving upward out of the demon's back. The first blood demon's eyes are still full of rage, but confidence too. It knows it's been hit, but its processing speed is fast enough to know that its demon core is still safe. It's about to lose its entire body to this icy plague, but in a matter of milliseconds, we will be crushed and killed by its raw primordial aura with no more help from this ancient Dryad's inheritance shrine. At least, this is what it believes before the entire Black Soul weapon on my arm is shot forward as a projectile. All of my red glyphs leave my body, encasing it from the atmosphere as it rockets forward. A thin line of black glyphs and pure corruption trails from its base. There is a second flash of light that illuminates the flatland where a settlement once stood. Red fire erupts from all of my glyphs that fracture and release their energy, and the corruption bolt collides with the demon's chest right in the center where Maria's ice is already splitting it apart. In the plumes of red fire, diamond-colored demon flesh flies with it through the air. At its center, an explosion of black glyph tears through the blooming primordial aura of this demon before it can regain its strength. Millions of black tendrils of corruption pour into its core, and the pressure shatters it to pieces. The purple divine core behind it destabilizes and explodes outward on the spot. The shockwave pumps dense purple demonic glyphs through all of the tendrils of corruption, supercharging them rather than erupting outward into the atmosphere. The eyes of the demon that dies before us are wide open, being infected by black oil and sparkling diamond ice. It still does not understand how it lost. Pure spoiled frustration, and raw, unfocused strength flow through its high royal vibrations as they begin to pour into me. Level up notifications ring in my inner ear, while system prompts open up before my eyes all over this demon's scattered remains. Level up X254 180. Use absorption. Skill. Demonic energy manipulation. Upgrade. Primordial. Yes. No. Use absorption. Buff. Primordial defense. Yes. No. While I press yes to accept all of the absorption notifications that pop up in my vision and watch my level surge to LV 836,232. I have the experience sharing perk activated too, and feel the burst of levels rising beside me as Maria gains roughly 250,000 levels all at once too. Waves of extremely dense purple divine threads flow through waves of aura that pour into me and begin filling up my divine core. There isn't a drop of mana in this demon, but the demonic essence and pure ether stored in all of its purple glyphs flow through my tendrils of corruption, making bulges in each strand, like a million snakes swallowing and digesting their prey. All of the oily tendrils vibrate with primordial aura and royal vibrations that are not their own. However, with the state of disarray this demon was in the moment it died, I'm able to suppress and conquer it with the help of all of the other resentful demons' wills. Trillions of demonic glyphs are siphoned through the strands, and all of the residue in the air that was its greater demonic form shatters to dust in a sparkling diamond display. Source resin fills the air and rotates around us as it pulls back in to settle on Maria's wings and back into her sword. All of the black glyphs and growing corruption pull back into my chest and seal themselves away into my royal demon core. The force of the impact keeps us floating in the air, but all of the residue from the blast is gone. All that survived are two massive purple demon horns that fall to the ground below us. My true core burns so hot in my chest that it feels like my grip on gravity and reality around me just increased by tens of times. When my royal vibrations finally settle around my demon's core, and it is allowed to fully digest the corruption inside, another massive shockwave ripples out of me. It is of pure white, high-quality ether. This happened plenty of times before, giving us a boost after every Outer Guard's core I devoured, but this one is far different. It's thousands of times stronger. When the wave of ether pours out, so does my newly assimilated primordial aura. Not only that, but my vibrations all tighten and ripple through the air with far more purpose. Instantly, I start to understand how this first blood was able to use so much less effort in its every movement to create a far more potent effect. The inklings of what it means to be a high royal start to dawn on me. Every single demonic glyph imprint that was on the outside of that first blood soul was crushed to dust, and its knowledge absorbed. I feel many more of both mine and Maria's legacy awakening as the shockwave of pure, high-quality ether rushes through us. My vision blurs to white the moment it does, carrying my mind away into this first blood's memories. Instantly, I feel the weight of time crushing my mind as I try to comprehend everything it's seeing. Unlike many more simple beings in the past that have their life of memories stored neatly from the day they were born to the moment I kill them, this demon's mind is completely jumbled up. I can physically feel and even see mental manifestations of massive purple, white, and silver arrays holding its memories together, and even deleting parts before my eyes. There is something inside this demon's consciousness, like a virus left behind, actively destroying everything in sight just in case of an event like what is happening now. My initial reaction is shock, but as bright flashes of light fill my vision and ringing in my ears begins, I start to realize I don't remember anything I'm seeing. All I know is every memory in front of me is out of order, and it's getting scrambled and destroyed. I mentally focus and link these feelings to the time something similar like this has happened to me in the past. Ember's curse he put on me. The golden and silver light that deletes my own memories just like this. The moment I become conscious of what's happening and understand the mechanisms behind it, I feel all of the timelines that shift around start to fall into order. I begin to gain control of some of the fractured memories that are left once I understand the mechanism that is deleting them. It really is a crude copy of the version that has been plaguing me for years. You even tried to copy this? I yell into an empty void of memories. No one is here to hear it, but the action alone cements my mind in place. Images of the lower realm flow into my mind. The only reason I know this is what I'm looking at is the divine energy density of the stars. If I were to look at any other factor, I wouldn't be able to tell it apart from the zone I'm in right now. The ether purity, mana density, and abundance of resources is nothing like the lower realm I know today. There are massive clouds of celestial energy that cover millions of solar systems at once. I see high-quality ether arrays powering transportation across the galaxy for a variety of races more diverse in a single field of view than the entirety of the lower realm connected to my worldwide connectivity system right now. There is not a single being that comes across this first blood demon senses that is not at least a first-class elite. The majority are nobles or higher. It is a standard way of communication, to let your intentions flow out through vibrations first before even speaking to one another. It is an extremely high-tech era, but at the same time it is far more chaotic. Time flashes by in pockets of millions of years. I begin to see wars start and sections of the galaxy being divided. However, all of the important figures and decisions behind how these wars begin are clouded out. All that is left in the space where the memories start is filled by a black void crackling with silver light in this tampered memory bank. Though I do get to watch this first blood demon in combat with other royals from an ancient era. It battles thousands of civilizations strong enough that today, they would be the undeniable rulers of the lower realm. Some snippets I get to see are of hydras, tortoises, enormous dryad clans, a race of extinct metallic humanoid creatures, an extremely strong clan of beholders and mind flayers. There are many other unrecognizable races I've never even seen in dungeons before. Even more strange, I don't see elves or wyverns, or any of the races many of the other demons had to deal with in the past. This is truly an ancient era, hundreds of millions of years ago at least. The more years and wars that pass, I realize the events I'm watching may even be from over 1 billion years ago. What is strange, though, is that this demon does not try to ascend. Despite holding a fully saturated true core, being over level 1 million, and wielding high royal vibrations, it stays below to dominate pockets of the richest energy-dense areas of space. There are a few zones near the center of the galaxy it never visits. These, I'm certain, are where in current times are the origin worlds and star systems of elites still rest. It is far more focused on the vast wealth with less control of them on the outer edges of the galaxy. In these regions, this first blood can take on entire races alone, one versus trillions of nobles and low-grade royals without an issue. There are small fractured memories of it communicating with other First Bloods, but they never meet face to face in the lower realm. Also, instead of infecting the worlds with thrones like I've witnessed in today's demons' conquering tactics, they only gather the ether in massive spatial regions and separate them based on grade. Low, medium, and high-quality ether are grouped up, and high-quality ether arrays are used to transport them away. Massive areas of dark, barren space are left behind. These memories have no details left on where the pure ether goes, but considering the disparity between this lower realm and the upper realm's wealth I see today, it becomes quite clear. Over and over, this is all I see. The first blood works like a robot, manually clearing out the outer edges of the galaxy and carrying out orders. That is, until new generations of demons begin to show up. Just like any other race, the elders and the strongest call the shots, and this first blood begins giving out orders to the weaker beings that must be what are now outer guards. I see the imagery of an extremely familiar world passing by and hold on tight to this memory. I do not want to see anything else or have it be lost in the wave of more I feel piling up behind it. This world is a massive planet with no life at all on it, but its enormous size and red-orange colored dirt give it away. The imagery of many demons from all over the galaxy suppressing their power and standing at attention in a wide-open desert on this world makes my skin crawl. The fact that many of the present demons look like dark shadows, when I try to look closer they are just blurs of silver, like their presence has been torn out of these memories. I realize this is the founding of their home base, what in modern day is known as the demonic realm. When I look deeply into the other demons, I realize the ones I cannot see are other First Bloods. They only appear as black demon-shaped voids, or silver and purple glyphs. In fact, the longer I look at them, the more the ringing in my ears sounds, and the weaker my grasp on these memories gets. I can tell there is one demon in particular that is larger than the others. From the sense I'm getting, and the looks of the outer guards that I can still perceive, this is the leader of this demon's generation. At least, the one here in the lower realm. The group of demons ventures through the barren deserts of this planet, following their leader past mountain ranges, wide open ravines, and desolate landscapes. There is communication going on between them, but it's all removed from these visuals. The further they fly to the other side of the planet, the harder it is to keep a grasp on this image. I feel the edges of my consciousness growing fuzzy again, just like it did when I started absorbing this First Blood's memories. But I push through and hold on just long enough to see what I need. A single massive black tower appears in everyone's vision. It crackles with silver light on its outer edges, and I can tell there is no memory manipulation going on here. This is truly what this First Blood sees in the moment. My grip on the past loosens, and everything starts moving extremely fast again. The visuals of the Imperial family founding, and a single demon ascending while summoning a second tower, is what I see next. It turns from green to cyan to dark blue. Before I can see it turn purple, to match the state of the Imperial's tower today, this demon leaves the lower realm following orders. The lower realm is far less potent with ether at this point. The majority of the outer ring of the galaxy has been completely consumed by the Imperials, and a new generation after the Outer Guards is starting to spawn and spread their influence as well. I do not get to see what they grow into or what timeline they are a part of. Considering not even the Vanguard's throne has been summoned in the demonic realm yet, I have a feeling there is still a large era of history in between that is missing. When this First Blood ascends, the purple and silver glyphs actively fracturing and locking away its memories grow much stronger. I can tell hundreds of millions, possibly even billions of years are passing in the upper realm, but I hardly get more than a few seconds of snippets. Flashes of green, cyan, and blue light burst by, and the only thing I can make out are various enormous battles it faces alone. One versus millions of royals from varying ruling races. It always wins without question. Throughout all of its memories is an undertone of unearned pride, confidence of a spoiled godlike being that was born with more power than everyone else and no answers as to why. One of the single frames of memories I grasp is the visual of a citadel in the green zone. When I try to reverse the memory and look back, it becomes blurry and harder to see. And then when I try again, the memory is completely devoured by the glyphs around it. However, I'm almost certain I just saw the fortress citadel. I even see glimpses of it wandering in the ravine, looking for something, but eventually leaving because it never found it. You could be reading stolen content. Head to the original site for the genuine story. No landmarks or potent memories are recovered from the blue zone. Yet, when the final stage of its life flows into my mind, I can already feel the immense weight of time spent in the purple zone. Every moment of it has been crushed to unreadable dust by a curse. It's built into its glyph imprints. I can feel that even this demon did not have all of its memories while it was alive. Whatever it is, it was placed on this demon when it came here. It was not born this way. The moment I connect these dots, a final image burns into my mind. I stare through this First Blood's eyes, looking right and left, feeling a few hundred fellow demons near the same strength. All of them stand in a line. They look forward, past the site of thousands of primordial trees all cut down and destroyed. In the center of the destruction, there is a single purple-cored demon. He sits on the stump of an enormous tree. By the aura alone, I can tell it's the same demon that was their leader back in the demonic realm. This is the Imperial family head. It's the same tree I saw in my visions many times before. It's the same one that looked so enormous, towering over the other primordial trees, making them look like saplings. It was in those memories I saw Ember, and the demon that tried to copy the Creator's legacy. Yet, when I look forward, I do not see any hint of silver threads in this family head's core. There is also no dragon at all in its vicinity. None of these First Bloods have dragons by their sides. I have a clear recollection of them all having bonded dragons in the lower realm, but now they are here all alone. I try to sift through the remaining fractured memories, but there is no sign showing where they've gone. The only difference I can see in their beings now is the fact that every single First Blood lined up has fully awakened glyph imprints. They all resonate with the imperial family head on a deep level. When one pulses, so do all the others. In this moment, I realize killing this first blood will give up my position, and the fact that Maria and I are strong enough to kill one of them. There is no doubt. This shift in my train of thought makes me lose grasp of that final memory. Not even the battle I was just in remains in its mind, no memories of the mapping of the purple zone, or any clues of how that silver-core demon that was bonded with Ember managed to kill off the Dryads and chop down their tree. As I feel my consciousness slipping back to reality, the strong emotions of this mystery in my mind focus on a wavering area of gravity in the center of the primordial tree's stump. I never would have noticed it, nor did the demon that held these memories even look at it. There is a weak area in space behind the imperial family head, like a crude rift in space. It feels similar to the manual tier Maria and I made while breaking out of the green zone. Flickers of silver, divine threads crackle from its edges as the reality of the battlefield comes back to us. Our glyph imprints are pulsing frantically, as more and more white symbols saturate and fill out on the outer walls of our souls. The intricate understandings of how each glyph fits together, creating more and more complex arrays, flows through both our minds. As I share my new memories, we both mirror these waves of enlightenment through each other. There are waves of smaller and smaller breakthroughs following the initial burst until the flashing glyphs eventually calm down, and we reach a stable state. In this flat area of land where the settlement of hundreds of enormous towers once stood, there is only a slight hum that fills the silence. The excess high-quality ether mist fills the atmosphere, and a pair of royal vibrations that are nearing the rank of a high royal make the atmosphere extremely tense. The power output of these vibrations is far too extreme to be that of just a royal, but there is a key piece of knowledge that is holding back the breakthrough. Our primordial aura bubbles have expanded to astronomical levels. They flow outward almost 100 trillion kilometers. From just moments ago, that's an increase of almost 1,000 times. I have far better control over it now. It is not just a mirrored version of my vibrations. I can feel that if I activate my new buff, Primordial Defense, it would all compress back in toward me and make a layer of armor around the outside of my soul instantly. Yet, there are still far too many factors that don't entirely make sense. Even my ether pools are still capped at extremely refined celestial energy. It has to pour through countless arrays to create high-quality glyphs. My ether pool desperately wants to compress and turn itself into pure high-quality ether, but this too is held back by a bottleneck I cannot fully comprehend. As Maria and I expand our senses outward, the dim black, white, and rust-colored aura of our allies slowly comes back toward us. But that is not what both of our minds are pulled toward. It is the blinding white aura at the center of this ritual domain that leads us to float forward away from this destroyed settlement. It's the reason we came here, with hopes to fully awaken our glyph imprints, the inheritance artifact that these first bloods stole from the rest of the galaxy. We both float forward, easily passing over the flattened battlefield. There is an incredibly bright, warm light pouring into my mind, and its source is just out of sight. When we first arrived, Ulgar said the ritual site was just past the settlement. This is exactly where this warm glow of energy is coming from now. My sacred body glows bright white, and the only energy floating around its outside right now is bright red celestial flames. As we float closer, I have the urge to loosen the tight hold on my demon's core and let the newly refined corruption float around and meld with my fire naturally as well. Maria's entire archangel form glows bright blue, and it sparkles all over with refracting sparkles. We're both still borrowing 5% of stats, and the increase in our primordial aura strength now allows us to increase the output of our energy forms as well. We could both easily grow to over 1 trillion kilometers tall. However, in this compact form just under 100 billion kilometers, we feel in our most natural state. I even want to compress down by a few multiples to have better control, but there are too many variables moving for me to dare to change anything right now. Despite such a rapid rise in power, everything seems fragile and at the turning point of a breakthrough. I instinctually feel as though approaching this ritual domain in this current state will produce the most optimal outcome. The actual structure starts to show itself at the edge of my mind. I see white stone pillars. They are incredibly smooth and perfectly round. connected to a pristine white floor and rising up to the sky higher than primordial trees. With my new massive boost in perception, I can see their tops that do not connect to anything in particular. At first, it seems like there are 2 rows of these pillars about 100 trillion kilometers apart, but instead I watch the ones behind the first 2 set slightly inward. It looks like they're destined to meet each other at a single point to create a perfect circle. When we float close enough to see the gap with my own eyes, I can see the back of this enormous ritual site as well. It is a perfect circle with an open entrance facing us, inviting us in. The only energy that seeps out from the megastructure is potent, warm, high-quality ether. I don't even sense any actual glyphs, nor is there any leftover primordial aura in the air. Yet, when we stop in front of the entrance, my instincts tell me there are a whole lot of both of these things despite not being able to see or sense them. The griffin, mammoth, and ogre all stop coming closer far away in the sky. None of them want to disturb us, but their awe-inspired, hope-filled auras certainly add to the allure of what's in front of me. It doesn't feel ominous or dangerous at all. It just feels like pure potential. Every cell in my body knows it will be extremely beneficial if I move forward. This is exactly what I do. Maria lets go of her sword, letting it fall back into her soul, then holds my hand as we float forward. The high-quality ether mist is so pure that there is no celestial energy left in the air. Only my corruption is able to devour it, and Maria's source resin. Neither of us directly gain any increases to our ether pools or energy control. There is absolute silence as we float past the white stone pillars that are trillions of kilometers wide each. Over 100 of them line up in front of us, and when looking down, all there is to see is a flat white circular floor. My instincts align with Maria's, and we both float deep into the center of this strange structure, and float down to touch the floor. Our energy forms feet touching the solid stone saturated in high-quality ether echoes through the silence, and less than a second later is answered by the sound of heavy stone grinding against itself. The entire structure is within my energy senses, so it is not necessary, but both of us turn around to look the way we came. Half a dozen stone pillars rise from the flat ground and slowly close the entryway into this ritual site. After a few long seconds pass, they release loud thuds and lock into place. A perfect circle of pillars surrounds us. The floor begins to vibrate ever so slightly, and the thin outlines of glyphs begin to touch the edges of my senses. All over the floor, millions, then billions, and eventually trillions of white dryad's glyphs start floating to the surface from some unknown place below the stone. Intertwined with them, purple glyphs and even white glyphs in the demonic language begin floating up with them. None directly move toward us, they only rise to the surface of the stone. All of the pillars in the surroundings begin to vibrate too, and from deep within their cores, glyphs begin floating to the surface too. They're all supported and held together by a standard collection of dryad's glyphs, but the more that's set into place, I can tell that is the basic structure of this ritual site's mechanism, and the demonic glyphs are the ones that are being prepared for some kind of transfer. The vibrations in the ground and pillars around us get stronger and stronger while glyphs grow in number. High-quality ether starts pouring out as well, filling the area with an extremely thick layer of white mist tens of times more potent than the natural state it was in moments earlier. The bright auras from the glyphs shine through, forcing purple and white rays of light from all around, pointed directly down at us. It looks incredible, but I feel nothing, only the increasing sensation in my gut that the time for an extremely fortunate encounter is near. All of the moving glyphs stop all at once. The vibrations halt, and even the surfaces stop pouring high-quality ether out. If it were not for the moving mist in the air, making the rays of light flicker, I wouldn't be able to tell that time is moving forward at all. All of a sudden, every single one of the dryad's glyphs holding this ritual site in place all pulse, then disappear into thin air. An extremely strong ripple of the warm, inviting pressure I've received from the domain barriers before surges into my psyche. When it does, I realize it knows what we are, and what's about to happen is no normal ritual for a random demon that would walk in here. Despite the heads up, I have no time to react any differently. All of the remaining demonic glyphs, white and purple, left behind, meant for generations of demons to use to awaken their imprints, all burst off the floor and pillars. They all fall inward toward the single point on the floor where we stand. There is no artistic ritual where the glyphs circle us, or the gentle layered approach to ease us into this inheritance ceremony. Instead, faster than I can blink, every single glyph is forcefully shoved into our souls. At the same exact instant, all of the primordial aura left behind by the evaporation of the Dryad's glyphs is released. The air becomes thick with an overwhelming wave of pure, uncontrolled primordial aura pouring out. It erupts upward to create an invisible pillar surging through us and out into the rest of the domain. The shock of having to digest hundreds of times more glyphs than I managed to drain off the first blood completely shatters my soul. Yet, the Dryad's aura around us emits so much pressure that we're forced to stay still in place. A very recognizable healing aura pours through us as well. It sparkles with a white and yellow light, leaving aftertones of green. Its scent reminds me of the restoration skill Abby used on me many times in the lower realm. Walking into this ritual site, I was expecting something like the one Ulgar let us use in his domain, where a portion of our glyphs are stimulated by a calming, non-intrusive display, or best-case scenario I inherit more visions of the past. Neither happens. Instead, for a moment in time, everything feels like it goes dark. It's like all of reality around me disappears. The system is gone. All of my glyphs go dark. Even my grasp on divine energy, vibrations, and ether itself, they all are deleted for an instant. The only thing I feel is Maria next to me in this darkness. The outline of her being does not have a shape, but I know she's here too, experiencing this moment of nothingness. We both stare down at darkness, but it isn't even that. It is just the logical mind trying to comprehend that there is absolutely nothing. However, at the edge of nothing, or possibly the center or the beginning. Whenever I try to understand what I'm looking at with the human mind, it does not make any sense. Whatever it is, it has no shape or form, but we both know it's here. Behind it, or inside it, or above it, there is something, or maybe everything. It manifests itself like a membrane, the outside of a bubble. Then, images of the strange place I saw glimpses of when we came in contact with that void creeper linked to the Creator's legacy in the ravine come to mind. It was a place filled with hundreds of billions of stone tablets, with no sense of direction or time at all. There were only void creepers watching and waiting for something. Whatever we are managing to catch a glimpse of right now, it is a very similar place. The moment we both realize this, while floating outside everything we know, the visual explodes like the edges of a balloon inflated too far. All connection to this place severs. Reality flows back into our minds, and it is far more potent than it was the moment we left. The dam in my soul has broken, and a bottleneck that was present before, constraining me, is completely gone. The high-quality ether that is floating around us quickly starts flowing inward toward us at a single point and flowing directly into our ether pools. At the same moment, the extreme tension in our royal vibrations also snaps like a million rubber bands pulled at once. They erupt outward with a chaotic nature, flowing out through the cracks between the pillars in this site, and flow to the far corners of this entire ritual domain, over 10 quadrillion kilometers away on every side. It is like they need breathing room, acclimating to their new frequency, adjusting to the overwhelming strength of a high royal. Our primordial aura follows, flooding outward to tether to our vibrations, filling this entire domain. I feel hundreds of thousands of stray, ascended demons die instantly from the pressure of our auras. Our glyph imprints have increased in volume by many times over. They are brighter, stronger, and are rising to the surface of our souls just like the glyphs that were on these walls and pillars. When I take a deep breath and look to my side to lock eyes with Maria's sparkling diamond blue gaze, I peer deep into her soul, and she does the same for mine. Our bodies and souls are perfectly intact, like they never shattered. The Dryad's primordial aura is gone as well, like it was never here, and when we look past each other, the pillars that surround us have turned jet black devoid of energy. They begin to crack and crumble down all around us. While this massive structure falls, and the black stone crumbles to dust under its own weight, all of the high-quality ether in the surrounding area is pulled in toward us. It feels so refreshing to finally experience the full range of natural energy flowing through the purple zone. Before, all we could do was absorb small pockets of celestial energy that didn't even fill a single-digit percentage of the atmosphere. Now, finally, we can take advantage of the pure ether that once filled the entirety of the lower realm. Not only are we absorbing the high-quality ether that was expelled during the ritual, but our presence moves out to every edge of this domain. All of the natural high-quality ether in the air, and the energy expelled from killing the hiding ascended demons, it all begins to flow in dense white pathways toward us. There are a few obstacles we avoid. The first three being Ulgar, Vardon, and Axel. It isn't fully conscious, but instead, the moment our new primordial aura and high royal vibrations touched them, they only had two options to choose from. Be instantly vaporized like all of the ascended demons, or accept a link of loyalty under the rising emperor and empress that are making their presence known. Each of them adds a few million worlds to the worldwide connectivity system, but they are not the only ones I feel being linked. As our shockwave ripples through the forest, our primordial aura overrides the pressure coming out of all of the primordial trees. Over 1 billion notifications hit my mind, and the intricate aura of each individual tree now makes far more sense. Each one of them in this domain grants me millions of worlds each. My glyphs all flicker, and small spurts of potent memories flow in through miniature enlightenments. Not only do I master the Dryad's language further, and comprehend their glyph patterns on a much deeper level, but I understand their history too. I don't lose consciousness. I'm able to continue staring out over this domain while watching how these trees came to be in the back of my mind. I see the scenes I inherited earlier, of the millions of Dryads that all poured their life essence into creating the invisible domain's barriers. However, in those old memories, there were no trees yet in the purple zone. Memories flash by of many Dryads pouring into the domains after their protection barriers have been completed, and the strongest leaders take root into the bottom of the zone. Hundreds of millions, even billions of years pass, and these protectors filter the air, refining the ether brought up to this zone by their underlings while their leader, the current overseer, watches them all from above. When other races enter this zone, they grant them safe passage and a place to transfer their inheritance to future generations. Then, eventually, a safe place to live indefinitely in the outer settlements once their time in ritual domains is complete. However, there is a violent shift in the peaceful order of things. The exact cause for this shift is unknown in these memories, but I can feel their pain, as somehow, their overseer has fallen. Many of these Dryads went into a permanent state of dormant shock after this severing of their connection to their leader. In their current forms, they cannot die, but they have been stagnant in a state close to death for what feels like an eternity. I can feel that there was a message sent to all of them right before the severing, but these memories were not inherited in a normal fashion. When I try to probe for it, it just fades. All I can feel is that it was linked to the sense of hope they hold on to, and that very feeling is what is triggering right now. It's the warm and trusting aura that wants to help Maria and me whenever we make physical contact with any leftover ether commands. I still do not know why, but over 1 billion ancient worlds that were connected to these dormant Dryads connect to the worldwide connectivity system, and I feel strands of primordial aura flowing downward through the zones and spreading out deep into the lower realm. Instantly, the new worlds I'm connected to enter my consciousness, but I also feel the intensity of everything else going on below me. My primordial aura floods into these points where the pressure of my links of loyalty's wills are the strongest. The closest specimen is of Seraphel and Abby going through a transformation in the Scion Zone. An enormous tree is forming around Abby in her immortal healer's body as portions of the Dryad's legacy awaken in her. She has already drained the entire zone of its ether and divine energy stores, and the roots of her tree are breaking through the bottom of the zone. Not only that, but extreme pressure cracks through the top of the zone as well, splitting the sky with dark blue cracks. Invisible strands of aura connect our souls, and the pressure of my new primordial aura, and the addition of so many ancient Dryads, forcefully triggers the next stage of her awakening. More memories flood through her mind, and a structural change in the primordial aura she already controlled takes place. The holographic tree of life she holds together with her aura grows stronger, and the sky above breaks apart. The growth rate of the branches and lush leaves can't be stopped. They tear into the space between zones, and begin breaking through the floor of where the dark blue zone's celestial sea once was. At the same time, the roots of this growing tree crack through the structural support at the bottom of the cyan zone, but collide with a bright white array made of high-quality ether before it can break through any further. It is made of ancient demonic high-quality glyphs, put into place by the Imperials once they took over the upper realm. It should be an impenetrable barrier for anything in these zones without fully awakening glyph imprints that can wield high-quality ether. That is why it was considered the perfect prison. However, as the tree's roots begin to spread over its enormous smooth outer edges, tiny specks of high-quality ether residue float out of it. This begins to be slowly consumed by Abby's aura, in a similar fashion to the corruption and source resin that absorbed high-quality ether by itself, not entering her soul energy pool directly. This is not where my vision stops. I feel my primordial aura pouring through all of my soul ties, flowing into the generals in the green zone. Then, the commanders, knights, and administrators all throughout the galaxy. I see the exact position they're in, faced against strange demons with artifacts left behind from an ancient era. From a quick scan, I see they've already done quite a bit of damage, killing thousands of demons wearing high-quality glyphs while they themselves all hardly even wield celestial energy. It's impressive, yet I can tell their tricks of targeting faulty armor won't work to finish the job, especially against the small pocket of demons they've pinpointed and named elites. They wield weapons that hold natural primordial aura, and they're far more intelligent and naturally stronger than all of the other demons in this army. From the memories I absorbed from the first blood killed moments ago, I'm positive these elites are remnants of the Outer Guards generation left behind. They're going to need even more help handling them. I instantly open up a telepathy channel with everyone on the battlefield, but receive extremely strange feedback once I do. It seems like every single one of them is using the Celestial Grade Mind Palace, replicating the rank-up process I used to gain an edge on the Vermilion family head. Despite not being able to reply or contact the outside from their states of extreme concentration, my primordial aura still flows in. Many knights, commanders, and generals are all deep within their own minds, experiencing the passage of time very differently than everyone else. Even Pluto, the commoner demon spying on the demons that have come to take over the demonic realm, goes into a momentary state of concentration to rank up. The only high-ranking system users in active communication channels are 2 administrators. I feel Alvaron's presence through the link first, but they do not reply. Bree is the first to make a sound. Jay, we're doing everything we can to aid them, but whatever this armor is they're wearing is too strong. Even Fisher and Lydia cannot break through. I smile back and share a visual of what I perceive through the advanced spectate feed. Over 20 quadrillion kilometers of primordial forest flood into her mind, and Alvaron's too. I can feel their processing speed take in the data at different rates. Bree solely takes in the enormous scale and beauty, all of the glyphs and intricate details of how my high royal vibrations exist in this plane do not sink in. She does understand how vast the difference is, though. Alvaron, on the other hand, I feel this mind stop every task it's been working on in the background all throughout the galaxy and take a moment to focus on everything I'm showing it. Somehow, I feel like this creature is actually understanding large amounts of what I show it. The glowing yellow slug replies to this display. Incredible, this energy purity. I've seen texts describe such a sight here in the lower realm, but they called it the old era. Bree's response is different. It's beautiful, but how will this help the commanders on the front lines? And the generals too. Do you see the situation, Ari? Abby and Raven are in. At this moment, the full force of my primordial aura flooding down from the upper realm into every soul I'm connected to finally reaches these 2 administrators. It floods into every single link of loyalty, but those that are just normal citizens of worlds throughout the galaxy do not notice it much. Even the elites of first-class worlds only feel a small warm sensation invigorate their souls. The majority of this aura pours into links of loyalty closest to me. This becomes clear as both Bree and Alvaron stop talking, frozen in shock and awe. There are no changes done to their systems, and no shift in their natural vibrations or ether pools. It is just an overwhelming feeling of warmth and power. Their divine cores feel stronger, but there is no physical change. All they know is their significance in reality has just increased by an undeniably massive amount. I nod and smile even wider. I wouldn't worry about them. You've done the work to organize the troops and get them in the correct positions on the battlefield. I've granted them enough power to awaken their own strength and finish the job themselves. The Celestial Grade Mind Palace works slightly differently for every user that activates it. In the green zone, Ava walks through a mossy stone path manifested in her mind and sees many stacked stone tablets evenly arranged in a small village that looks very similar to her home world. There is the illusion of a green forest out of sight at the outer edges of this manifestation, and small houses with deeper core memories inside. Stolen from its original source, this story is not meant to be on Amazon. Report any sightings. Whenever she touches the smooth stones, visions of her past flow in. Raven's Mind Palace looks very different. All around her, there is an empty desert. It is the battlefield where she first fought against the Rising Emperor. There are black filing cabinets scattered all over the desert with no clear pattern to them. A few are very closely bunched together, while others are all alone. The ones she walks by now are glowing very brightly, as they are newer memories and closer to the heart. Far away, deep in the desert, there are tall dark structures. She can see inside very evenly stacked filing cabinets of her life before, when she worked in the Association on the Human World. They are very orderly, but they are old and gray. Ares' Mind Palace is very abstract. It looks like he is in some kind of lush jungle, and there are black blurs of energy moving around just outside of his view wherever he turns. However, he summons a white bow made of energy in his mind, then closes his eyes and constantly shoots it off in many directions. These manifestations of arrows hit the fast-moving targets wherever he looks without a single miss. Every hit leads to his old memories flooding back with vivid details. In the lower realm, Lydia climbs a narrow, icy mountain path. Every drastic curve in the trail allows intense memories to flow in, while the individual snowflakes that fall from the sky and touch her skin let lighter, easier-to-digest memories hit her mind. She controls this manifestation and can have the weather change to snow less or more, however she wishes. Fisher sits out on a large boat in the middle of the ocean. With a rod in hand, he pulls up fish from the sea one after another. The moment they hit the deck, they dissolve, and their corresponding memories flash in his mind. There is an assortment of rods lined up against the railing of his ship, and instinctually he knows which one to cast to receive certain types of memories. Pluto finds himself in the same dungeon boss room with his bonded dragon, the one that the Rising Emperor saved him from spending an eternity in. The walls, ceiling, and floor of this cave are covered in spiked rocks. He can use his earth summoning skill to move them around and control their size as he wishes. Whenever he walks over and touches any individual stone, memories of his past flow in as though he's reliving it in the present. All the knights of the Crimson Army that are on the battlefield all find themselves in their own unique worlds. Some as simple as a library or even a large transmission tablet that easily sorts their memories, while others are as complicated as huge cities or vast forests. Everyone admires the nature of this skill at first, as time passes so incredibly slow here compared to the outside. They shift through important life events, old battles, and most importantly, the shared spectate memory that Bree shared before they went in, detailing how the Rising Emperor used this skill when it was still in its divine grade state to trigger his rank up and defeat a family head. They compare the Rising Emperor's changes before and after and relive the moments of battle they've just experienced, and do not see how doing the same will allow them to beat their enemies with these strange glyphs for armor, and primordial aura around their weapons that will certainly kill them on the spot if hit once. However, if they can rank up, the common thoughts here are that a stronger battle form will give them an edge to be able to survive longer and find a way to win with a newly upgraded pair of eyes. Each of them finds a quiet place to sit, whether that's on a flat, icy cliff, in a warm pile of sand, or beneath a large jungle leaf. They all close their eyes and press rank up on their internal status screens. Within these mind palaces, their consciousness goes completely white, sinking even deeper into the cores of their minds. They cannot even wake up to sense the manifestation of memories around them. The outside world is much further away. Hours pass for some, as their minds, souls, and systems are using copious amounts of energy to unpack their raw talent and fighting styles to create a new battle form for every one of them based on their extensive pasts and potential futures connected to the system. In the very middle of this process, an outside force flows into their minds. It is invisible and has no physical effect on the mana manifestations or ether flowing through these celestial grade mind palaces. However, the fact that these are all made up inside their heads means it does reveal itself in the physical form that many perceive it. Liquid glass, with areas that look like they are reflecting mirrors of their surroundings, flows through the air. In some palaces, it's slower, flowing like streams down mountains or falling from the sky like rain or fog, but it all ends up in the same place. This potent primordial aura all pools in the core consciousness of each mind and makes the receiver have a far different rank-up experience than they were expecting. In the outside lower realm and green zone, it all takes place in fractions of a second. Every one of these frontline forces awakens out of their momentary break from reality, and alongside the bright flashes of white rank-up light, an invisible aura begins to flood out from their chests. In the green zone, an ancient fortress on the edge of the zone begins to activate glyphs that haven't been used in over 1 billion years. Primordial aura that has been stored within dormant glyphs pulses outward. This is in response to the 3 intense waves of primordial aura that pour out of the generals, bypassing all of the defenses in the other citadels with 0 resistance. 3 green true cord fighters erupt with power. Each one of them expands in size by tens of times, fully saturated with celestial energy from their ranked-up battle forms. Ava's Goblin Queen form finally receives a true energy form rank-up, creating a jade-green armor made from pure celestial energy, and intense tethering from an extreme amount of divine threads. It expands in size with no limit, similar to an astral form, but dictated by the amount of celestial energy that can be pooled into it. Ares' battle form erupts with a pristine white power. All of his spirit hands glow extremely bright with a far more refined energy source. However, this is just a side effect of the evolution. It has nothing to do with his actual new ranked-up form. Ares' actual body grows in size, as though his actual muscles and bones are expanding. From the outside looking in, it's extremely similar to a noble bloodline transformation, where the human body grows into a new superior form. His skin, muscles, blood, and bones all begin to harden and strengthen with a glossy, obsidian-like finish, and his vibrations all tighten and mutate with it. The archer's eyes grow sharper, and the structure of his pupils change. His focus and sight increase by hundreds of times, picking up details and shifts in energy and movements no normal human eye can. When he grabs his main soul bow, any arrow pulled back directly from it becomes glossy black just like his skin, unlike all tens of thousands of other white spirit arrows drawn back in his spirit hands. Raven receives a new energy form too, allowing her old mana-based one to become obsolete in comparison. It is similar to Ava's in that its size and strength are dependent on the celestial energy channeled into it, and its root in reality ties to the divine threads making it grow. The form is sleek and looks crimson from some angles, but also hazel, similar to the color of her eyes, from others. It's extremely hard to see, even when it's not activating its special perk, allowing it to slip away into the stealth dimension she has access to from her True Core's ability. It is hard to tell in this moment if it acts so differently, making her stealth dimension so much more secure because of the rank up, or if it's because of the invisible aura that floods out from her chest during the change. Primordial aura flows into every cell of her body, saturates every energy wave in her greater forms, and even floods into her stealth dimension. Raven has no clue what this power is. She knows the demons that are out to kill her wield the same thing, and she's aware it's a gift from the Rising Emperor to help her with her rank up. The only thing she knows is that it makes her feel extremely strong and energized. All of her thoughts and actions feel more potent, and it's like second nature to wield this strange invisible force. She knows every action she makes now is being amplified by thousands of times without any excess energy input on her end, but does not know how. It's clear her rank up's efficiency and reward potential were also heavily increased, like the strings of fate were just artificially bent upward in her favor. This invisible force flows through Ari and Ava in this moment too, fully saturating their minds, bodies, souls, and vibrations. It floods outward to the far corners of the green zone, as it's less than 100 million kilometers wide, virtually nothing compared to the raw power of this primordial aura. All three of these generals turn and let their strongest attacks loose on the closest demon to them. Before falling into their mind palaces, the strongest elites that come from the same generation as the outer guards all begin taking control of the battlefield. They are more intelligent and powerful than any of the mindless drones that were killed by faulty armor before. None of the demons have a fast enough reaction time to see this coming. 3 elite demons are hit by invisible dual swords, an obsidian arrow, and a massive green hammer. Each of them supersaturated in primordial aura, and slammed against overconfident elites that were ready for an easy kill. Soul weapons shatter, and the seams of their high-quality armor shatter apart. The pressure of the force from each of these attacks is too absurd for any of the demons to block. It is the equivalent of using a devastating tsunami to get rid of a single ant walking along the sand of a beach. Explosions of high-quality ether glyphs malfunctioning fill the air. The wave of these attacks begins to hit the ranks of hundreds more demons far off behind them, and many are killed in the same fashion, as their armor can't withstand the pressure. The automatic marching demons do not deviate from their paths, but the remaining elites near the back line that were expecting an instant kill of their enemies send warning pings to every major contact they can. This includes all of the elites in the lower realm, and to all emergency channels above. It has already been established that the Imperial family head has shut off all contact in preparation for the sealing, so these pleas for help may be falling on deaf ears. The lower realms elites all begin to frenzy at the visuals transmitted to them, but it may be too late for them as well. Fisher's eyes glow a bright blue that looks extremely unnatural in deep space. Celestial energy-infused water magic floods out from his pores and creates an enormous energy form that looks like an ancient suit of armor. It covers every bit of his body head to toe, and even adapts to his soul sword. It looks like ocean waves are crashing constantly when he moves. Lydia explodes with a pure white icy celestial energy blast that sends waves of blizzard-like winds all throughout the solar system she's currently floating in. Her ranked-up buff creates enormous gusts of icy wind, but does not give her a larger energy form. Her body has been upgraded in a similar way that Ares has, but she does not grow much. Her skin, eyes, and muscles all turn icy white, just like her curved soul sword. She's able to disappear into the waves of snow that follow her presence, and can practically teleport anywhere her aura can touch, becoming one with the chaotic snow around her. Both of them release an invisible wave of primordial aura just like the generals, and it has an even more profound effect on the lower realm. Even though they're on the edge of solar systems, their mere presence flows through the stars at their centers and destabilizes them in an instant. It is an unstoppable natural gravity attack, and neither of them knows how to wield it safely yet. Though safety is not the main concern. Both Fisher and Lydia, in separate star systems, send their strongest attacks at the elite demons that were chasing them down across the galaxy moments earlier. Neither of them saw it coming. They thought they were just chasing their prey, and would have to until these humans got tired, but both demons that survived from the ancient era are instantly killed on the spot. Dozens of knights explode with celestial energy forms of their own, and immense amounts of primordial aura. Some of them face elites, while others are only battling with armies of mindless demons using the high-quality white armor. It doesn't matter who they face, the result is the same, instantly killing these demonic forces the moment they awaken from their mind palaces. Pluto and his Earth Dragon both come out of their connected mind palace, and a very dark demonic aura explodes out of them. It's infused with a massive amount of primordial aura, and no matter how strong the celestial-grade stealth skill they were using was, there is no hiding their location anymore. All of the elites in the demonic realm look to the sky and see an unknown enemy looking down on all of them with killing intent. I watch this take place through my many spectate feeds with a satisfied smile on my face. White streams of high-quality ether are still being funneled from all of the far edges of this ritual domain into mine and Maria's ether pools. While the nourishment is very welcoming, I bounce many ideas off the mind of the archangel I float next to. Not only can we feel every speck of energy in this domain, we can also feel its edges, and its subtle connections to the other ritual domains in the primordial garden. They're like small soul bonds. We cannot feel the exact location or distance, but the direction is clear. Quickly, a plan forms in our minds to hit as many of these ritual sites as possible before the Imperial family head finds us first. Did it work? Did they fully awaken their imprints? Vardon's words hit my ears from hundreds of trillions of kilometers away. If that's not what a full awakening looks like, I don't know what could possibly top it, Axel replies. There's a long pause before Ulger speaks to both of them. No, as impossible as it sounds, that isn't a full awakening. I saw them have a smaller reaction back in my domain. You can look closely on the edges of their souls in their current forms. Many of the glyphs have still not floated to the surface. Some have not even begun to glow yet. He waits in silence, then speaks again. But Axel, you're right. They've grown many times stronger than First Bloods. I don't think we can comprehend their potential if they awaken more. All three of these monsters slowly float back to us with wide eyes. Their minds are being bombarded by messages linking them to the lower realm with ease, a place none of them ever thought they'd be able to access again. Not only that, but they even feel a strange connection to all of the primordial trees within this domain. Their perception doesn't travel quite as far as mine and Maria's, but instead of foreign towering living structures that would normally suppress their primordial aura when floating by, they feel like allies. The primordial aura from the semi-stimulated dryads flows right through them, like friends. I reply to their claims once within range. You're right, our glyphs aren't fully awakened, but this will be enough to prepare for our meeting with the Imperial family head. All three of them stop moving closer. Their shock can be felt in the royal vibrations rippling off them. Inwardly I smile, as the structure and tension of their vibrations feel extremely flimsy. It's like I'm examining a frayed thread, while my vibrations are as tough and immovable as a steel cable after the breakthrough. Just hours ago, our vibrations were comparable. Even our greater energy forms are towering over the griffin, ogre, and mammoth. When guiding us to this domain, we were barely the size of a blade of grass beneath their feet. Now the roles have completely reversed. I raise a hand, close my eyes, and focus on the primordial aura flow I used to invigorate the generals, commanders, knights, and admins below moments ago. Waves of invisible aura pour into the three of them, making their potentials and potency of thought and vibrations rise instantly. Oddly, doing this does not limit my own primordial aura output at all. In fact, it even raises it. It feels like I am warming up an extremity far away from the center of my soul, and when invigorated, it works with greater efficiency and can even send warmth back to me to amplify my power. All three of them have no idea what I've just done, but I point off behind them to the way we came. They all turn, and I push my spectate feed into their psyches to get a visual of what I see for a split second. It's of the edge of the domain. From here, over 10 quadrillion kilometers away, enough of my aura touches it to begin activating ether commands all throughout the wall. It only takes a minuscule amount of high-quality ether to power what I need, opening up an archway back out into the demon's territory. Go. I've granted you enough power so that the outer guards will not give you a problem, even if you have to take on 100 each. But the First Bloods, I'm afraid only we can handle them. I turn to Maria, and she nods, looking out in the direction of the domain I've opened. The tale has been taken without authorization. If you see it on Amazon, report the incident. Yes, spread word to all of the mana-based beings in the outer settlements. It does not matter if you're on good terms with them or not. This is a fight against the demons, not each other. Have them give their loyalty to the rising emperor, and the primordial garden will return to its former glory. Her icy gaze makes the three monsters shiver. I let go of my spectate feed and smile. Thank you for your help in bringing us here. Unfortunately, this ritual domain will not be usable, but I'll make sure to keep one standing for you when this is done, or even build one from scratch if I can't keep that promise. I look into each of their gazes and nod, pinging more information about the worldwide connectivity system into my final thoughts. They all see the open panels to borrow skills, extra stat-based perks, and instant telepathic communication channels. They nod back and their shock fades. Only excitement and pure hope rise in their hearts. Axel is the first to move, turning around and letting out a caw to fly up and away toward the hole in the barrier. Vardon's natural attitude returns as he grunts, but his eyes and posture are filled with respect. I underestimated you too. Quite a bit. Maybe it is time for the humans to reign. Ulger lets out a light chuckle and whispers under his breath, "Told you so," then looks to us. "We'll do as you say. The outer settlements will soon all know your name." He looks down at his hands that have become saturated with primordial aura tens of times denser than he had before, and I feel a deep sense of killing intent pour out of him. The same assassin's aura he used in battle floods throughout his astral form, and a sharp glint flashes in his eyes as he turns around. "And we'll kill every outer guard we see on the way there." Trails of black and rust-colored aura fly away, but I can see them clearly. I'm even certain once they're out of range, I'll be able to geolocate them, even if they enter domains with a similar cloaking strength to this ritual domain. Instinctually, as I feel the network of domains all throughout the primordial garden, I'm sure of it. When Maria and I turn to face the opposite side of this domain and float forward through the air with incredible speed, it makes my mind wander. I still feel the strong soul bond one have with Ember, yet there is no mention of him in my system interface. I can still vaguely feel the direction he's in, but whatever domain he's hiding in, it's made of extremely special glyphs. It's certainly not made by dryads, or I'd be able to locate it and see through it with ease. While I'm not exactly worried about where he is, or what kind of domain he's even in, I just don't understand why he hasn't come out yet. I don't believe he's injured, so the only possibility is that he's hiding from someone other than me. With a wave of her hand, Maria opens up the other side of this ritual domain with the same ease that I did for the 3 outer settlement domain lords. We've managed to pull every drop of high-quality ether from the ritual domain released into our pools, and take over 80% of the natural high-quality ether in the domain for ourselves as well. Large portions of it came from the ascended demons, but some just naturally exist in the atmosphere. It would be easy to drain it all, but the domain barrier protecting it needs some ambient ether to remain active, and the primordial trees within the domain need a certain amount of free-flowing ether to stay in their immortal dormant states. We leave just enough for everything to continue running smoothly. As the barrier closes behind us, I can still see and feel everything within the domain. Being connected to the trees gives me perfect spectate feeds of the surroundings. I watch the 3 mana-based domain lords leave as well, heading back to the neutral zone, and the hole in the domain naturally closes. When our primordial aura floods out into the natural open wilderness again, the same phenomenon occurs that did within the domain. Within seconds, thousands of new links of loyalty are connected to the trees within range, and over 1 billion more worlds climb up on the worldwide connectivity system. At the same time, it also instantly kills hundreds of thousands of ascended demons that wander the open forest, and even critically injures over 90 outer guards scattered throughout the trees in smaller squads. After a few seconds pass, I can even feel some of these purple cord royals dying under the pressure of our auras too when they can't get up off the forest floor. Maria and I don't pay this much mind. We only step upward to float high above the primordial trees, then summon millions of glyphs beneath each footstep to propel ourselves forward toward the next closest ritual domain. I can feel the fluctuations in the atmosphere and begin to create a mental map of everything nearby. It only shows up as vague outlines and shadows in the depths of my mind the further out I try to look, but it is good enough to get a blurry view of what we're dealing with. There are about a dozen other identical-looking domes of domain barriers all in a massive circle, and all of them begin to vibrate and fluctuate. Small openings are created on the walls of every single domain, and ripples of primordial auras of varying sizes pour out. Ascended demons cannot be sensed at the distance I'm feeling, so the only thing these data points could be are First Bloods and Outer Guards. Thousands of them swarm our way.